Ah, it's working. We're waiting for people to start joining us, and we're going to get started in about 9 minutes. Looks like we've got a couple of people tuning in via Facebook, and we got some people joining us on Zoom. If you haven't already downloaded the PDF that I emailed out earlier, make sure that you have that either printed or downloaded so that you can look at it as well as we go through. Ooh, we got 3 people watching on Facebook now. Everybody quit talking about him. He's here.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. We have 2 people on Facebook and Rachel on here.
All right, excellent. Let's be sure and share the PDF and the chat channel out on and as well as Facebook so people can download and follow along. And everybody extend us some grace because this is the first time we've done it on this kind of format. So bear with us as we learn from what I'm sure will be our mistakes today, and we'll grow together. So, hey, Big Mike.
What's up? Oh, am I muted? No.
Oh, look, there's our live stream on Facebook. Gotcha. Okay. Elise, did you share the PDF into the chat as well as to the Facebook group so that they can download it?
Yep, and I sent it out in an email.
Excellent. I'm going to ask forgiveness for my hair today. I wore a toboggan because I'm from Texas, so it's cold. This is cold for me, so excuse the messy hair. We'll try to get
I thought a toboggan was something you rode in the snow.
Huh?
I thought toboggan was something you rode in the snow, like a sled.
It could be that. That could be another name for it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, we're going to give everybody a couple minutes to join us. Good morning, Rachel Walker Partis. I don't recognize that name, but thank you for joining us. I hope that you get some benefit out of it today. Mike, I'm really glad you're here. I'm going to lean on you a lot today, so appreciate that.
I'll do my best, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna talk models, and we're gonna talk 2021. It's gonna be a big year. So I feel like I should have some background music playing as we get ready to, kind of get going.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go shut this door so people don't have to listen to me.
Hey, Mike, where's Mark King in this? This is cool.
Mark King in it. So she's learned how to live stream on Facebook when we Zoom. So we're very proud of that.
Nice.
But Elise, let's reserve our pride for after it works. Let's knock on some wood and make sure.
It's already doing better than it did Friday.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh, that reminds me, Friday, gonna talk to you about what I want you to talk about on Friday. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
Where's your cat, Elise?
I think he's upstairs staring out the back door.
All right.
He likes to watch the weather come in across the lake. It's
Yeah.
funny because the more that it rains, the more the landscape disappears and then reappears. And
Yeah.
do you want me to go get him?
Well, we got 3 hours. If I could see him before we're done, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, so we carved out 12 to 3, anticipating hard to gauge in this day and age of the Rona as to whether we'll be in person or Zoom or via both. And so I don't anticipate this taking 3 hours today because I was trying to allow for a little bit more time. You know, sometimes when you're in person, it takes a little longer to focus everybody back in a little bit. And also I ordered pizza in case anybody showed up. So obviously wanted people to be able to have a chance to eat as we started. So I anticipate we'll be done before that. We will take a break. Elise, remind me every hour or so to take a break if need be. There's Andy Gibson. Andy is an ALC member, just like Big Mike, and he's here to show his support. So he's unfortunately going to have to watch me Zoom and talk, but I also know that Andy's great at business planning 411. So much like Mike, you'll probably see me lean into him a little bit since he's here and going to give us some of his time. And, you know, we'll try to help bring you guys a lot of value. So if you haven't been to Andy's goal setting class, we need to get another one of those on the calendar. It's always very popular. So there you go. Oh, and here in the chat, I have somebody. Oh, and there's Rick Servant. Okay, wow. All right. There's a document there. Oh, that's the document there in the chat. Good, okay. All right, so we're gonna give everybody a couple more minutes as we get rolling. We all know that the 12 o'clock meeting in real estate starts at about 12:03. So we will be cognizant of that. Let me check my status here on our pizza real quick so that we don't miss that. I may just be feeding people here in the office, but that's okay. They need food too. Hey, Rick. How are you, sir?
How's everybody?
Everybody is doing well. All right. That is going good. All right, so if you hadn't had a chance yet to download the materials we're going to be going over today, Andy, here's a packet in person. Elise has shared the PDF in the chat if you want to grab it and download it so that you can kind of work through the workbook with us. And our intention here is to go through this, mastermind around it, share best practices, you know, have an active conversation around getting a business plan together. Elise, are you watching the waiting room? Do I need to admit these people? There's Tiffany. Okay. And
I'm
you know,
watching the waiting room and the Facebook chat.
All right, excellent. So, you know, my intention for us today is to go through this material, talk about it, solve questions, have some ahas, and when we get done today, we should have at least a working idea of what our 411 and 135 is going to look like going into 2021, and give you time to tune it up. That we won't get it wholly tuned up today. Obviously, it's an ongoing thing that will require you to, you know, look at it regularly and adjust. It's one of the things my coach has worked on with me about is, you know, don't let and this is a good place to start anyway, guys. Business plan is a plan, right? It's not oh my gosh, you must do this no matter what, or it all falls apart. It's a plan that you lay out and you try to structure to anticipate your year, but you need to allow some flexibility. One of the struggles when I first started with things like a 411 was it was hard for me to write down exactly what I was going to have to do every time and not leave. In my mind, that locked me into those things. And what my coaches worked with me on is understand that we're going to put a 411 together. We're going to attempt to follow it, but you also are going to need to, you know, be flexible and understand if something changes or you add something or subtract something. So sometimes some of these questions will make you say, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to commit to what I'm going to do next September. That's okay, right? It's all about laying out an outline, right? It's a plan. Think of it more like a treasure map. If you follow this and turn right at the rock that looks like a man's face and go 10 steps, you'll find the gold. But understand sometimes those steps are going to be, have things they didn't mention in it. So we're going to dive in here. I put a couple sheets on top because there were things I wanted you to see. Now, the first page here is something I stole. So we all know R&D means rip off and duplicate, right? So when I was a coach, I had a coach crush on a coach out of Houston. Diego was his name. He is just one of the best coaches ever. He runs a program in the Houston market, giant market center, giant program. He has multiple coaches underneath him, and he does it at a high level. And I got this off of his materials, and it's a cap plan. And whether you're a brand new agent or a new agent, I wanted to start with this because it really breaks down kind of the fundamentals of how you need to look at your business in order to achieve a minimum of being a capper. Now, if you're a team agent, you could simply substitute this for, well, if a cap is 2.5 million and I want to do 10 million, well, you just need to multiply all these numbers by 4, and that's where you would achieve it in the same month. So I love something that breaks down, I'm not real bright. So I love it when somebody lays it out for me and says, just do this and you'll succeed. And you can see if you want to cap in 3 months, you need to make 200 contacts a week, 6 months, 100, 12 months, 50. Now, one of the things that I always talked about when I was a coach with my agents, when I would start them on this plan is understand, I'll tell you right now, and I think any of the experienced agents that are on here would agree, if you undertook the activities in the 6-month plan to cap consistently, fervently, and you undertook them day after day and really stayed on the numbers, I bet you'd cap faster than 6 months. I can almost tell you that if you do all these things, if you're making 100 contacts per week and you don't cap in less than 6 months, come talk to me or your coach or your accountability partner around maybe the scripts you're using when you make those contacts, right? Because if we undertake these numbers, this is how we get to it. And the reason we start with this is your plan is going to be whatever version of this that fits your business. It's still going to essentially be the same. How many contacts are you opening? What are going to be your activities? What are going to be your focuses? What are going to be your priorities? Those are the things that are going to help you go into 2021. And guys, I anticipate a big year in 2021, right? I know a lot of people are reminiscent of 2008, and they're talking about, you hear 2008 referenced a lot. This is nothing like 2008. Real estate is not at the heart of any economic problems, right? We're not in a situation where everybody has interest-only loans and are underwater in their house. Anyone that's bought a home in the last 10 years is almost guaranteed to be equity positive, almost guaranteed to have had to jump through more stringent hoops to attain their financing. And therefore, I don't anticipate it being a down year in the market. If you just use macroeconomics as your rule and figure it's a supply and demand equation, we are still going to be really low in supply and we're still going to have a lot of demand. If you took our current demand and cut it in half, you'd still have more buyers than we have homes for sale. So from a macroeconomics viewpoint, the market should be strong. And if we go into it with a planning mindset that we're going to knock this out, that's going to help us capture a lot of business. So wanted to share this first. If you're a new agent, I encourage you, or a newer agent, someone that maybe has been a half capper or a capper, I want to encourage you to get this first page and make this your focus, right? Is how am I going to get to cap as fast as possible? And here's the numbers, here's the clarity around what I need to undertake day in, day out to hit my numbers. So if you're a new agent, this is a big plan. Like I said, if you're a team agent or a bigger agent, take whatever number your goal is. If a cap's 2.5 million and your goal's 10, just multiply these numbers by 4 and you could do it in the same amount of time. So that's the first page there. Now, the next thing I included is a 135. It's a blank one, okay? And I also included, if you'll scroll down through, Elise, I also included a kind of a written out version where it kind of gives you instruction, okay? So what we're going to talk about today first as we dive into our materials is finding your big why, right? Setting your big rock. What a 1-3-5 does is it takes your one goal and it says, what's my one thing I got to hit for next year? Next year, I want to have a hair that is down to my shoulders, right? And therefore, I need to take priorities every day that are going to help me achieve that goal, which might be using growth conditioner or trimming the split ends if I was growing hair. I think that's how you do it. And then your strategies are going to be, what do you need to do? What's your plan? What's your strategy to attack each priority? So once we kind of get our goals, you can go back in, you can put your big why at the top, and you can work through the priorities and strategies, and your 411 will play into that, okay? Now, I included in your packet something about the Do Not Call Telephone Consumer Protection Act. The only reason I included that, it's not going to be necessarily germane to today's conversation. However, with the new technology we have that allows us to make a lot of contacts, and if you go back to this first sheet and says, oh, I'm going to be making all these contacts, guys, you need to be aware of this. And they've asked us to bring this in our trainings to our agents to make them aware, because we actually have agents in other market centers that have been fined and sued for breaking this. So be sure and make yourself aware of this. Go to donotcall.org, all right, and be very cognizant of that as you're making your contacts, okay? If you haven't scrubbed your database in a while, you need to go to donotcall.org. You need to scrub your database, so be aware of that. Okay, so let's dive into the actual packet. And as I was sharing with the group a few minutes ago as we were getting started, this is my first time teaching this packet in this format. So we're going to roll through it. If we leave you behind, if you don't understand something, please stop and ask questions. We have a nice mix, a good group already getting, and I see some more people logging in. There's new agents, there's seasoned agents. So guys, if you're a new agent, something we say you don't understand, please ask. We have a lot of top agents here with us today that can help you answer. We want to pour into each other and mastermind. So don't be afraid to stop us down. I'd rather stop and answer a question than just fly by. Well, hey, Samantha. Well, we just got people popping in everywhere. All right. I should go guilt Andy every time I'm teaching a class, man. That's oh, Andy's going to join us via Zoom. All right. Awesome. Be sure when you log in, keep your sound muted. Yeah. There you go. Because we may get some feedback. Okay. So we're starting today. Today's the table of contents. We're going to start at page 1. Where am I today? Where am I going? How it will make happen. We're going to go through the 5 fundamental models a little bit, but today we're going to talk mainly about economic, lead generation, the budget benchmarks a little bit. We won't spend as much time on the hiring path or the MREA charts of accounts, but we will get into some of those, okay? We're not also going to talk about expansion, because obviously expansion is a whole separate class, expansion systems orientation. If you're at that level, talk to me and we'll get you signed up. So we're going to move first to page 5, okay? And if you don't have your materials printed out, I encourage you to grab a notepad. You're going to want to jot down some answers and some things around this so that we can have discussions around it. And we're going to start at the beginning, right? Where I am today, okay? So what you got to ask yourself is, where are you today? You create and use a business plan as a daily, monthly, annual, long-term guide to run your business. Have you created a business plan and intend to learn to understand it and use it more effectively? Are you a new real estate agent and new to business planning? Are you a team member and you're new to business planning? And so just, ask yourself where that applies to you. If you are a lot of the faces I see here, as far as Mike Staten, Rick Servan, I know Andy, and these are agents that have been here. My guess is they have done business planning before. They have an idea of where they want to go for their business. If you're newer, like I see Eden Anderson's jumped on here. Hi, Eden. Eden's a newer agent that joined us. She's fairly new to real estate, I would say. She had been licensed a little bit before she joined us. So she's probably new to looking at the business plan, okay? So ask yourself which one of those applies to you, okay? And then let's move down to, what are your numbers? All right. And before we go all the way into everything, guys, if you don't know your numbers, well, you need to stop. We need to stop and know your numbers, right? You can't make a plan if you don't know what your goal is. So question number 1 is, what's the amount of money I need to pay for my lifestyle and get out of debt? Write that down. All right. Think about that for a minute. We'll give everybody a chance. Do some quick math. It's okay to rounding. There's no MCAs on this call, so we don't need to know the cents. Okay. We can round to the nearest dollar. All right. So think about that amount of money you need, right? What do you need to pay for your lifestyle and get out of debt? Do you like a certain exorbitant lifestyle? Do you have a lot of debt? What are you trying to accomplish? So what's your gross net income goal for next year? What would you need to make, right? Then the second question is, write down what's your business expense annually, and we're gonna plug these numbers in down the road in the packet. So take a few minutes to write these down. All right. So my business expenses annually. What do you spend a year running your real estate business? If I'm the Staten Group, I probably have more expenses than an individual agent because I'm a team, right? So let's see here. Oh, at least we got people in the waiting room here. Let me admit them in. All right. So, all right. Now, next, what's your average commission? All right. Once again, you got to know your numbers. Now, here at the lake, last month, I believe Lake Ozarks was $290 on the trends was our average sales price. Now, that may not apply to your business. That's okay. Let's round it up for easy math. And if I'm a lake agent, what I'm saying is $300,000 was the average sales price. That means the average gross commission would be $9,000, right? So write down, $9,000 if that's the case for you, or if you're, oh,
Got it.
all right, we got it. Okay, so hold on, we have a technical
Left too soon.
standby. We have a technical difficulty with speaker feedback. There you go. We're good. Okay, so what's your average commission a pound? All right, now. Here you go. Number of listing appointments gone on last year. I'm going to call out somebody here. Mike, we'll start with you. You're at the top. How many listing appointments have you gone on this year?
Actually, Mark, I'm ashamed to tell you that I have not tracked that well. I cannot answer that question.
Okay. All right. So, and guys, you know what? That's a great example. Sometimes I love, Mike, thank you for your honesty. And here's why. One of my struggles when I was a productivity coach working with new agents was I'd have to go to the rainmakers and the bigger agents and the bigger teams and say, hey, listen, when you talk to the new agents, could you remember that they're not they're brand new. They haven't been in this business 10 years running an 18-person team. So what applies to you or what you do, that may not apply to them. And yet they're going to hear you talk and they're going to start thinking, oh God, I don't know that, and I should. And so thank you for being honest and just actually admitting that, hey, you know what? I haven't tracked that well. I appreciate that. So let me ask you this. Ballpark it for me. How many listing appointments would you say you've gone on this year? Would you say it's been one a week?
Yeah, I probably average, and my MAPS coach has been kind of on me that's something I've got to track in 21 is to do that. I've never been really good at that, and I need to be, and I want to be. So I plan to do that in 21. I probably average, if you averaged it out, probably 4-ish a month.
Okay. All right. So you're on a 4-month pace. So that paces us, we'll call it 48 listing appointments.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number of buyer appointments gone on. Do you do the buyers? Yeah.
No, not very many. Usually
Okay.
the buyers agents of my team do. So I don't personally go on very many.
Okay, well, let's find out from a buyer's agent here. Who works with buyers? Rick, you work with buyers. How many buyer appointments would you say you've gone on this year?
Unmute yourself, Rick.
I'm sorry, Rick, you're muted.
80 to 100. Call it 90.
All right, we're going with 80. All right. No wonder I don't ever see Rick. He's busy out there hustling day in, day out. I like it. He's like that little hamster that drove the Kia. Remember, every day he was hustling? Y'all remember that commercial?
Yeah, but I'd never drive a Kia.
Hey, don't knock it till you tried it. I had one once. They're pretty good cars. They're pretty good cars. The best thing about it was you could put it in the back of somebody else's pickup truck and take it with you.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, we've got that. What was the number of listings sold last year for you, Mike?
I said, crap, man, I should have came prepared. I don't have all that in front of me.
Okay. All right. So you know what? That's okay. What we know is we need to know our numbers. That's why we're going through this today. And you can come back and fill these in. It's important that we learn it. So we'll say Mike sold 40 listings last year, okay? And number of buyers sold, we'll say, was 40 as well, just for easy, right? So what we're learning here is if you don't know your numbers, hard to make that plan, right? And that's an important thing. That's why we have these clinics, is so we can dig in and get better. So that's excellent, Mike. All right.
I'm killing it so far. Ain't I?
I'm sorry?
I'm killing it so far, ain't I?
You are. You're doing really well. Yeah, absolutely.
I do know that the Keller Williams model is 60-40 for listings, more 60 for listings, more than 40 for buyers. And I know one thing that we have tried to work on is we've been probably buyer heavy. We've not been 60-40 to listings. If anything, we're probably closer to 60-40 buyers, and we're trying to come up with ways for next year to try and bring that back around and maybe even flip it towards the other side. So,
man, I am so glad that you said that, Mike, because the reality is that's probably everybody's business this year. It's probably, given the amount of high volume of buyers and low inventory, it is probably hard to find many people that are truly at a 60-40 split listings to buy this year. And we'd like to build a plan that changes that. Okay. Yeah. We need to build a plan that changes that. There are enough listings out there, but we got to go take them, right? We got to go find the properties and find the deals. And we need to go into 2021 with a very purposeful plan based around listings. Because if you follow the listings leads leverage model, then listings is going to be where it's at. And if you have a lot of listings in 2021, you're going to have a lot of success. So I love that you brought that up. All right. Mike, I'm going to lean into you one more time. So we started with you, and then I promise on the next page, I'm going to pick on Andy. Number of names in the Staten Group database, Mike.
When I looked the other day, there was just a little over 1,000.
Okay. 1,000 people in your Have Met database. All right. And finally, because you're a team, so your team consists of you and who?
Me, my wife, Robin, my son, Scotty, and Christina Brazil.
Okay.
And we have a VA.
Robin, Scotty. I saw that Christina had her first closing.
Yeah. And just for the record, well, actually, she probably already had it. Doug Eversole had his first one this morning at 11.
Oh, that a boy, Doug. Well, that's awesome. Good job, Staten Group.
He's got several under contract, and he called us yesterday, and he's pretty excited. So,
well, that's the way to be rocking, man. Good job. All right, so hold on, Elise, before we run to the next page. Thank you. So, guys, if you don't know these numbers, go back. We're gonna work our way through this packet. Go back and find these numbers. All right. If you're a newer agent and you're not sure which ones apply to you, you know, as far as business expenses yet, as far as the money, if you want to have a deeper conversation, talk to your productivity coach. They'll help you dig in deeper. But if you don't know these numbers, go back after this clinic, plug these numbers in. Clarity is power, guys. If you don't know your numbers, you're going to have your ups and downs and struggles in business, okay? Key thing is to know your numbers. Even if you're selling rubber dog poop, you need to know how many you're selling for how much, right? So, sorry, that's a Top Gun reference. I don't know if anybody gets that. All right, Elise.
I did.
Okay, so where am I going? All right, let's talk about the goals of the course today. All right, the goals of the course are to gain understanding and clarity around the 5 fundamental business models of the millionaire real estate agent, right? Recognize that the 5 models are interconnected and an important role of planning, checking on, and projecting your business. To create a custom plan for your business, whether you're new to real estate or a seasoned professional. So we can get Eden cooking, she's new, and we can get Mike straightened out, he's not new, right? So anyone within that spectrum, all right, anyone within that spectrum, and then initiate a plan of execution through accountability with a peer partner, productivity coach, team leader, rainmaker, MCA, etc. So for you top 20% agents, this is what you and I are going to talk about next year. We're going to look at these plans you made and say, hey, how you doing? Where's your goals? We're going to focus on that. For you newer agents, your productivity coach wants to help you along with this. We're going to continue to support you in that. Okay. So 3 things, my 3 learning goals, 3 things I want to understand by the end of this training. So you can write them down, the 1, 2, 3 on a piece of paper with a note, but let's get a couple of, so who came here today with a goal of learning something? Okay. Andy, I probably can't teach you anything. No. All right, Andy, do you mind sharing with us something that you would like to learn today?
Yeah, can you hear me from yours?
I believe so. Can you guys hear him?
No.
No? Okay.
I screwed up everything by being here live.
That's okay, man. That's all right. We're glad you were here in person. We're really glad you were here in person. What was the one thing you'd like to learn today, and I'll share it with them?
Okay. Did you unmute me?
No.
Here we go. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you
All right,
fine.
cool.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I want to be able to figure out how to take this back to my team and hold my team accountable.
Okay, great. That's a great one. So for Andy, he wants to go through this and he wants to take this back to his team, hold them accountable, help them plan for their business, right? So that's a great one. That's an absolute great answer. Something else. Let's hear from somebody we haven't heard from yet. How about Eden Anderson? I see you're on here. She's here somewhere. She was. Did Eden leave? Or is she Adina? She's Eden A, I bet. Eden, what about you? What's something you'd like to learn today? Okay, we're muted. That's okay. All right, so your learning goals can be anything. You don't have to share them with the group, right? But we want to always come from curiosity. We want to come to a class like this. Guys, I'll tell you right now, if your goal coming to a class like this is to sit up and show up and have somebody see that you were sitting in the room, you don't have to do that. You're an independent contractor. We want you to grow, want you to educate. But if you're going to come to a class with the intention of gaining something, right? Andy's a big team rainmaker. Mike's a big team rainmaker. Eden's a new agent. We all still can come and learn something. So you don't have to share it with us, but take a minute, write down what your goals are. Yes, sir, Mike. Yeah, if you're going to raise your hand, unmute yourself, brother.
I'm just going to give you something that I'm hoping to learn and get better at. It's why I always like to go to these things, because I love business planning. I'm just not, I'm not great at it. I can do a 1-3-5, and I struggle when you turn it on its side to turn it into a 4-1-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what my one goal is for next year. But then sitting down and actually putting together then the 3 priorities and the 5 strategies sometimes can be a challenge. But my thing is, where I've always kind of had a challenge with it is it being an actual, like, I love the one thing. I listen to Jay, I love Jay Papasan and Wendy. They're big in goal setting and stuff and having retreats. And I can put one together, but it's almost like I just kind of BS my way in it just to have it done. I want to have it where it's actually, like Jay says, a living, breathing document where I actually look at it and study it and work from it every single day, where it's actually my action plan for every day. When I get up, I've got total clarity on what I need to accomplish that day, to accomplish for the week, for the month, to hit my 1-year goal. I can sit down and fill out a 1-3-5 and then put it in a notebook and never see it again. But I want something that's actually really, really solid that I can truly actually follow for next year. And I struggle sometimes with the actual execution of a business plan.
I understand it. And you know what? I love something you said in there. It's a living, breathing document that you have to work in every day. Mike's absolutely right. If we do this today as a group, we work on it, we put something down on paper, and then you tuck it in a file and leave it in your desk drawer, it's not going to do you any good, right? Your 411, if you haven't seen the 411, like the one thing planners you can buy where you can actually have your 411 there and have it open every day. Those are great tools. Carolyn got me one this year. It was really useful. Mike's showing his there. And that's the point, guys. This plan that we're going to create should end up being a living, breathing document that every day is on your desk or on your tablet, or you check it every Sunday afternoon or evening as you're preparing for the week, where you're living in it, okay? It's not going to work, much like the treasure map analogy. If you don't actually get out on the ocean and look at the map, you're never going to find the treasure, right? You can't just say, oh, I think it's on one of those islands over there. You got to actually pull your map out, right? So I love that Mike said that, because that's the key. We have to work in it every day, right? We have to understand it. It's part of our business. It needs to be your right hand. So moving along, how will you make it happen, okay? Level 1, you're going to complete a business plan. Level 2, you're going to complete a business plan and commit to following the written plan. Level 3, you're going to complete a business plan, share it with your coach or peer partner who's committed to your growth, and execute your plan by checking your activities and your results against it weekly, monthly, and annually, right? So there you go. Mike says 3. So guys, write down. It's okay. You've got your packet. You don't have to share it with the group. And let me tell you something, Elise, if you'll scroll back up for a second, if level 1, if you're just at level 1, don't beat yourself up. If you think level 3 is eating the elephant all in one bite, like you're a newer agent, okay, let's get you a business plan. We'll coach you up on using it, all right? But having a plan is better than not having a plan. Level 2, complete a business plan and commit to following it. Hey, there you go. You know, no matter what we do today, don't beat yourself up for whatever your real answer is. Be honest with yourself. Clarity will be power here, okay? All right, so think powered by a big why. We're going to move on to page 7. Think powered by a big why. Big because you're after extraordinary results, and why is the reason you get up every day and do what you do. All right, so big whys powers big lives. We got to help you find your big why first. So we're going to take a few minutes here. This will be the first time we stop down for a few minutes. Your big why is your purpose and mission. It fuels you with focus and energy, and it powers your actions. So your big why could be your family. You know, I know a lot of the people that I know these ages. Andy's got 14 children, 15 children, right? That's a lot of mouths to feed. So his big why is getting groceries for all them growing. Well, actually, he has only 3, but growing boys feel like feeding 15, I'd imagine, right? They go through about a pound of food a piece a day if they're anything like me and my 2 brothers. So Andy's might be my kids, right? For me, you know, my child is raised. My big why is actually my future and my retirement. I saved for my daughter's education all through her life. I was a single dad, so I had to put money aside for her college. I was able to do that and grateful that I was successful in that, but didn't leave any room for dad. So dad has no retirement. I will be the old man living under a bridge unless I work hard and build my retirement savings. And I was a young enough man when I sent her off to college to make that my focus. So my big why is actually 65-year-old Martin, right? For Eden, it could be I want a cap in the first year. My big why is I really want to reach X goal. She has a family. So whatever your big why is, take a few minutes now and think about what's the reason you get up in the morning. What's the reason you do this, right? We wouldn't be working if we didn't have a reason. So think about it, write it down, and we'll look for a couple of brave souls to share here in a minute. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to chew on what your big why is, write it down. Tell you what, where's my pizza? Okay, 15 minutes away. Well, I had ordered pizza because I wasn't sure how many people would show up in person. So. Okay. But now, yes, we are going to eat one each. So we're going to gain a little weight today. So anybody struggling with thinking of what their big why is? Anybody realizing they got about 14 big whys and they need to triage them a little bit? Oh, I see Eden's big why behind her. Cute kiddo. Yeah, there you go. She just got Zoom bombed. All right. So who wrote down a big why they'd like to share with the group? No pressure, no judgment. Who wrote down a big why? Okay.
Martin, I guess I can go. I'd like to hear from somebody else. I'm not real sure that Tiffany Servant has spoke yet, and I would love to know what Tiffany's big why is. But I just wrote for mine right now. Hello, Tiffany. I just wrote for mine right now, one word. And for the first thing that came to my mind, my big why is right now, I guess, at least, and it's probably changed a little bit. Like you said, life changes. Your kid, my 3 daughters are grown and married, and I've got 2 boys still at home. But mine is, I wrote the word freedom, which can mean several things. One of them, financial freedom. I've woke up in the middle of the night and worried about finances one too many times. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. And it's been a long time since I've done that, but I have. And I want the financial freedom. I want freedom that when Robin and I got married in the year 2000, she had 3 little girls. For anybody that don't know our story, no, they're laid out there somewhere. And she just walked in, and I'll never remember where I was at. But
Robin and you got married. You had 3 little girls. For those that don't know the story.
So Robin and I have been married 20 years, and then we had 2 boys, and we've raised kids the entire 20 years. So it's almost like now we enjoy, if we decide we want to pack up next week and go spend a week in South Florida, we're going. And if we want to go spend a week here, or we want to go wherever, we have the freedom, whether it be the financial freedom or the freedom for leverage on our team, to have our team to a point where we can do that. And we have a VA, we have 2 other agents on our team. So, I mean, if Robin and I are gone, business still happens. And as long as we have Wi-Fi, you know, we have our phone and laptop, we're never far away. But I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I don't want to worry about finances. I want freedom to be able to go run around and enjoy life with my wife, and have the financial freedom to be able to do so and not have to worry about where the next car payment's coming from.
I love that. I think that is a great answer right there. You know, it's really honest. And I want to thank you for, you know, bearing your soul here with us. And you're right. We're going to make Tiffany talk a little bit too. We'll make Coach talk, but I want to thank you for that. And I love what you said, because money isn't the big why. It's the what money will do for you, right? Money empowers our life. It's what drives our economic engine of sorts. And so it's okay if you were sitting here thinking, man, my big why is $1 million. Hey, no judgment, right? But what could that $1 million do for you? That's really your big why. Now, if all it would do for you is let you Scrooge McDuck around and swim through your money, remember Scrooge McDuck? He swam through his vaults and spit out gold coins when he came up for air. If you want to do that, that's fine, no judgment. But most of the time, it's not the money, it's what the money would provide for us. Freedom, security, retirement. Maybe you've got children that you want to leave a legacy for. Maybe you've got a wife or a husband that you want to leave a legacy for. Eden raised her hand. She's got her kids, right? She wants to build something for her children. So your big why is the why we're getting up and going. And it's where we're trying to chase this money down, but it's not the money, right?
Isn't it hard to articulate it though?
It can be.
It's hard.
It absolutely can be hard to articulate it. That's right. That's a great point. Sometimes it's hard to articulate it because we've never thought in those terms. So many of us have thought in put my head down, got to go make a living, got this family to take care of, got to keep a roof over our head, got to buy Christmas presents. So, you know, we've never been in. One of the things I loved when I came to Keller Williams was that I found a company that said, hey, let us pour in a little deeper. Let us help you learn how to articulate that. When I joined Keller Williams, I could not have told you what my big why was, right? I just knew that I was working because I had this kid and I was trying to get a raise and I needed to make money. And I would have thought my big why was my rent. But the reality is that's not it. You know, rent is a part of life. So you got to make that money. It has to be a reason to work or house payment. But my big why was, like I said, it's about that financial security as I get older. And I don't want to do this forever, right? We all want to get to a point where we can retire, you know, except for Tiffany. She said she wants to work forever. So everybody by now has written down your big why, I'm assuming. So we're going to move forward. All right. So think big goals and big models. Climbing a big mountain is a big goal, and a big goal takes a big plan, right? If you're going to, in the example here, I mean, it's kind of tongue in cheek a bit because, yeah, obviously if you're going to go climb Mount Everest, you probably need a plan. I don't know that anybody's ever climbed Mount Everest by hopping on a plane to Nepal all of a sudden and rolling up in their Umbros and flip-flops. Everybody know what Umbros are? Maybe I'm dating myself a little. Umbros were shorts, at least, people used to wear. You probably have no idea. But you can't just get there, right? If I want to go climb Everest, I've got to make a plan. I've got to train. I've got to buy equipment. I've got to get to base camp. And then from base camp, I have to wait for the right weather. There's so many steps, right? So right now, I want us to take a minute and let's do some goal setting around it, okay? So we've got our big why. So let's scroll up a little, Elise, and let's take a minute and write down, nope, I'm sorry. Let's scroll down a little bit, Elise. There you go. All right, so let's take a minute and let's write down your someday goal, your 5-year goal, your 1-year goal, your monthly goal, your weekly goal, daily goal, and right now. So you can go in reverse, but take a minute, make yourself some notes. Where would you really like to be someday? Where would you like to be in 5 years? Where would you like to be in 1 year, next month, next week, today, and right now? Okay, so take a minute, make some notes there. Now remember, SMART goals. Let's use SMART goals while we're doing this. Does everybody know what a SMART goal is? Does anybody know what? Tiffany, are you on there? Can you tell me?
Hello. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay! Hello.
Hello, Eden.
I've been here, I promise.
That's okay. We can see your name. So do you know what SMART goals are, Eden?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were jumping in. Yes, we
Oh,
can.
I am, but no.
Okay. What about you, Coach Tiffany? Are you on here? Do you know what SMART goals are?
Well, not exactly. I mean, yeah, I want to be smart about my goals, but I'm assuming that's an acronym for something, KW, and I'm not.
That is. So Senior Gibson,
not.
take it away.
So that's why I'm here to learn.
Okay. All right. No worries.
I bet you Mike knows what this is. Mike and I have been talking about this for a few years. We go through this and we still don't get it right. Mike, I want to say this before I say SMART goals. Mike, man, I cannot still, after all this time, even with teaching these classes, I cannot come up with how to articulate my big why as well as you can. So I'm still struggling with that.
Absolutely.
A SMART goal is something specific, measurable, achievable, repeatable, and timely. So you have to be able to put all that together. So it's got to be specific enough to where you can track it and you can stay on point. It's got to be measurable, so there's got to be like a date and time stamp on it. So something within a certain amount of time. So it's got to be measurable. It's got to be achievable, which means that you want to stretch yourself to what these goals are, but you still want to make sure that you can hit it, or else it'll be too overwhelming and your goal's over after 30 days. So specific, achievable. Where am I at? Specific,
measurable, achievable,
repeatable. So this is something, the repeatable part is something that we can continue to do, that we can make our business kind of boring so we can always do the same thing over and over again and repeat it. And boring is a good thing when it comes to business. You can track it, you can duplicate it. That's what you want to be able to do. And then timely.
Yep,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're taking notes at home, a SMART goal is specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's repeatable, and it's timely. Okay. So as you're looking at this and you're making your list real quick of someday goal, 5-year goal, 1-year goal, monthly goal, weekly goal, daily, and right now, run them through the filter of, are they a SMART goal? Okay. And we'll give everybody a couple minutes to write those down. All right, guys. So we took a couple minutes, and good news is, if you were here in person, you'd be eating Chevy's pizza because it was just delivered. Yeah, and Elise reminds me, thank you, Elise. So it's been about 45 minutes if we want to take a break. So what I want to do is I want to talk 5 fundamental models, and we're going to talk kind of the overview of them real quick here on that next page, Elise. And then what we'll do, guys, is we'll give you guys about a 7-minute break to get up, stretch your legs, use the restroom, grab yourself a bite to eat, etc., and we'll circle back. Okay. We all know Zooms can be a little mind numbing. So we want to give you a minute to and keep moving. Okay. So, all right. The five fundamental models, right? They all equal one system. And these are all out of the MREA. If you don't have a copy, please let leadership know. We're happy to get you a copy. I can't recommend that book enough, especially the Audible version. I love the Audible version because as agents and as people in this business, we're on the road a lot. I have learned more listening than I have reading the Red Book, because listening to the Red Book for me on Audible allows me to go through it over and over again, rewind, listen to things a couple times. So it's awesome. So dive into the Red Book. All right. So we're starting out at number one, the economic model, right? So a formula that describes the relationship between a series of activities and the specific outcomes they produce. It shows you where your money comes from, where it goes, and how much is left over for you. And the point of that model is to achieve the amount of net income you desire. So you remember back a few pages ago, we wrote down, what do I need to make for my lifestyle and my debt? The economic model is how you're going to get there. So, and we're going to dive into these models deeper in the next hour, okay? The lead generation model. That's a plan for where your money comes from your lead generation activities. It's a companion to the economic model, since leads are the fuel to the economic engine of your business, right? We all know it's about leads, listings, and leverage. So if your economic model says you need to make $1 million to pay off your debt, well, then you need enough leads generated based on your closing percentages to equal that amount of money. Okay, so they go hand in hand. Gives you the number you'll need to generate X number of leads to achieve your goal. All right. The budget model, a plan for where your money goes between the time you receive it and keep it for yourself. The focus is on minimizing your expenses to maximize the profit, right? Spend X amount of money in specific areas to support the efforts of your lead gen model. Okay. So the budget model is all about holding your money accountable. Now, the two we're going to spend not a lot of time on today. If you're a rainmaker or someone with a team and you want to dive in deeper into these models, call me. Let's set an appointment to have this conversation. I did one last week with Ann Ferguson, who's a top agent in Branson. She does tons of business. Her team does a lot. We sit down, did the org model conversation for about an hour. I think Ann would say it was nothing short of mind-blowing. By the time we were done, we'd reassigned 2 people on her team, established 2 spots. She needed to hire more people. So it's a great conversation, but it's a little deeper dive. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it today. And of course, the expansion model. Once you get your business to a certain point and you have your team where you could have a repeatable, duplicatable system and model, you may want to expand to other market centers. There's a course for that. We're not going to dive into it today. It's called Expansion Systems Orientation. If you're running a team and you think that's the next step for you, talk to me. Let's get you signed up for the class and let's talk about what that looks like, okay? So Elise, if we can scroll through these a little bit here. All right. Okay. We're going to give everybody, it's 12:46. So we're going to come back at 12:55. So we're going to take a 9-minute break for restroom, stretch your legs, hot up your coffee, grab you a bite to eat or a taco.
Hot up your coffee.
Hot up your... My grandma used to say that, sorry. Force a habit. Hot up your coffee. It's what she said when she was microwaving stuff. I'm going to hot it up. So do that. Take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much.
Hey, Mike. My cat's up there snoozing. I'll bring him back at the end of the video.
Sleep. It's a good day to pile up and sleep. Mine were all, when I left, they were all piled up.
Oh yeah, the dogs in this, we have a like medium to large size dog bed that they both curl up in.
Yeah. It's snowing here. Is it down there?
Not yet. I'm waiting for it. I love snow. And as an independent contractor, I don't have to leave my house if it
Yeah, I guess
snows.
there's benefits to that. There's definitely benefits to that.
Yes, sir. This time last year, I had to go to the office.
Yeah. Well, our 7 minutes is going to be up before Robin ever gets back. So you guys might get to enjoy watching me eat a sandwich and salad.
I'm eating a brownie and a banana.
No, wait, a brownie and a banana.
Yeah.
So they kind of so you can eat it. It's
They
like getting
totally
a Big Mac
contradict
at
each
McDonald's, but
other.
get Diet Coke.
It was the quickest snack food I could generate.
I always wonder why I can't get a flat stomach, but Robin brings crap home to eat, and I don't have the willpower to leave it alone.
I don't either.
He brought a big thing of cinnamon rolls just smothered in icing over the weekend, which is my favorite. And I've had about 3 of them, and it just goes right to here and right to here.
Oh, that's funny. I have a hard time ever since I taught myself how to make bread. I have a hard time. I always make 2 loaves. I try to give one away, but I have a difficult time not eating the majority of the loaves that I eat.
I completely understand.
Mike, where's the little buddy at?
I don't know. No idea.
Are you getting excited about next week?
Yeah, I guess. I honestly hadn't thought about it much. I need to be. It was a long week last week, and we had a guy here in town last week, a good friend of ours, has wife and 2 kids, died of COVID. And last
Oh my
night
gosh.
or yesterday afternoon, my neighbor, his son was a grade behind me in school, but he lives by me in my subdivision. Very good friend of mine, pops in and out of my office. He stops when I'm in the neighborhood, and if he's driving through, he died yesterday of COVID. So we lost 2 people that I cared a lot about this week. So it was
That's
a long week
horrible. I'm
last
sorry.
week, and honestly, I just hadn't even hardly thought about next week. But I'm ready for a little R&R.
So what
right.
made me think about it is when you said that about the donuts or the cinnamon rolls, I was like, yeah, I hope there's, yeah. I like the cinnamon rolls too. So the people
You guys
passed,
are-
it was the wife?
Huh?
The wife passed? Is that what you said? It wasn't the wife
No,
and the 2
husband.
kids?
The husband. He was a
Oh.
buddy of mine. He and his wife are friends of ours, and they got a 7th grade son and a 9th grade daughter. And just the way it all works, it just sucks because she took him to the hospital and she couldn't go in, so she dropped him off, and he spent 27 days there. And last week, Monday night, the doctor called. They lost him and brought him back, and the doctor called her and said, "You need to get in here if you want to tell him goodbye." And she came in and through a glass or plexiglass got to tell him goodbye. And the doctor said, if you want the kids to say their goodbyes, you need to FaceTime them. So she FaceTimed them. So their 2 young kids got to see their dad on his deathbed and say goodbye. And 20 minutes later, he died. So
How old
Lord.
was he?
Okay.
43.
Horrible.
Yeah.
The CO at the prison here in the state prison in Tipton, where I go, where I'm a volunteer in corrections at, and chances are he got it there probably because the inmates, they haven't let me go since March because it's been through there, and it's hard to social distance prison inmates, you know. So,
All right, so back to the group. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your 8 to 9 minute break. Hope everybody got their legs stretched, and hope everyone is doing okay. Excuse me, I inhaled about a half a pizza in my 7 minutes because I was starving to death. So I may have to stop and pound my chest a couple times here. All right, so we're gonna get rolling. So the next page it talks about your economic model. Now, this economic model may not reflect yours exactly. And why I say that is you may not be making $1 million net income yet. That's okay. We can get you there. Everyone has that opportunity. But this is just a breakdown of it, okay? So as you're looking through it, you can see that at $1 million of net income, right? And you'll see the numbers there beside it, 40, 30, 30, which we're going to dive harder into the model in the following pages. So if we have $1 million of net income, plus we had 750,000 operating expenses, plus 750,000 cost of sales, that gives us 2.5 million in total gross commission income, right? So when we're planning for our business and we're using the economic model, that's why on that first page, we need to know our numbers, because if your goal is to net $100,000, then you need to understand that you may need 250,000 in gross commission income to net that 100,000, right? One of the mistakes we make, and not just new agents, experienced agents fall prey to this as well, is we think, okay, I closed a $100,000 deal. That's a $3,000 commission. Well, no, okay, it is. If you get 3%, that's a $3,000 gross commission, but that's not what you bring home, right? You're going to have your brokerage splits. You're going to have your cost of sales. You're going to have expenses for your transaction coordinator, your gas, your mileage. So that $3,000 may only be, well, if we're following the model, right? That means you take 900 out for expenses, 900 out for cost of sales. So that $3,000 becomes $1,200 in net income, right? And that's a huge difference between $3,000 and $1,200, right? And if we don't have this plan and we don't understand our numbers, well, then we fall prey to, oh man, I'm doing great. I'm gonna make 100,000 because I closed, 3 million worth of volume and my gross commission was 100,000. Well, no, you're not gonna make 100,000. If you're anywhere near the model, you're gonna make 40 or 50. Now, newer agents starting out, if you closed 100,000 in gross commission, you probably didn't spend 60,000 on expenses and cost of sales. So if you're a new individual agent, you need to think of it more from and it talks about this in the red book. We often forget individual agents. You can think of it as a 70-30, right? You had 30% expenses and you're doing all the work yourself. So 70% is what you retain. And the different models vary a little, but that's the concept here. So you go down and see the math. So if your average commission amount was 7,150, you would need 350 units to achieve 2.5 million. Now, guys, don't hear the 2.5 million in gross commission income and think, oh, that's not me. It totally applies. These are just numbers. We could take out a zero and say 250,000 in gross commission income means you would need to do 35 total units sold. The math is easy to adjust for your business and for your situation, okay? Now, Mike or Andy one earlier mentioned a 60-40 split listings to buyers is what we're cooking for. This model just is assuming a 50-50 split, okay? So if you go down the sell side, 50% seller listings, that makes 175 total seller listings sold. 70% conversion rate. Once again, we go back to no exercise. And Friday morning on Take Command of Your Business, and probably most Fridays throughout the end of the year, we're going to be looking at how our technology provides us with goal setting tools. And the better you know your numbers. So one of you agents that's experienced, tell me what your conversion rate is. Somebody jump up and tell me, if you get 10 listings, how many of them do you sell? 80%. Andy says 80%. Now, I have faith that Andy tracks his numbers pretty good, so that's probably a pretty solid number, which means 4 out of every 5 listings he's selling. 70%, they generally will use more industry average when they're doing these. So Andy could look at that and say his average is a little bit better than industry average. Now, one thing I would remember, and I know Andy will acknowledge this, is right now listings sell, right? There's a low inventory environment. So when you're doing this, it wouldn't hurt to err on the side of caution. If I'm Andy and I close 80%, when I'm doing my economic model, I'm assuming a 70% rate, right? All that's going to do is make me work a little harder. And if I do everything exactly like I should have, it's going to give me a little bonus at the end of the year, right? We'll call that the golfing money. I didn't expect to make it, right? So if at a 70% conversion rate, you'll need 250 total seller listings, right? So to get 175 sold, you need 250. If you convert 3 out of every 4 listings, and I know Big Mike, if you can get him in the door, he's getting that listing. I would bet yours is a 75% listing appointment conversion rate all day long. So he knows that in order for him to get 175 listings sold, he'll need 250 listing appointments, or he'll need 250 listings. And out of that, in order to get that, he'll need 330 listing appointments needed, or 7 each week, 28 a month. You see how the numbers, it kind of backs it out for you. If you want to make $1 million, these are the numbers that you're going to have to go. And guys, there are agents that are making $1 million. Don't look at that and think, oh, I could never make $1 million. I'm telling you right now, I've worked with agents who ran the model and made $1 million. It is doable. I'm not going to tell you it's doable the first 6 months you have your license, because just from a time standpoint, you'd have to hit some really big home runs. But it is doable if you build the plan, if you use the SMART goals, if you a smart thing to do would probably be to take this entire PDF we shared with you, download this packet and use it as a resource. Go back and check your notes. Go back and look at these models. They're in the MREA. If you don't have the red book, get it. All right. So we see that the numbers are roughly the same on the buy side. They want 175 total buyers sold. They have a 70% conversion rate. That means they need 250. They get a 70% appointment conversion rate on buyers, because we all know, especially right now, your buyer conversion rate is not going to be that high. And the reason is you're going to have buyers that want to buy. It's through no fault of your own. It's just with such low inventory. If you have 10 buyers, the odds are you're getting 5 or 6 of them under contract if you're lucky, because there's just so much competition, right? So your buyer conversion rate is going to ebb a little. So that means if you want to make $1 million based on these numbers, you would need 333 total seller appointments and 357 total buyer appointments, right? I'm not a math expert, but I think that's 690 total appointments needed, right? So 14 a week, 58 a month. Now, eat the elephant one bite at a time. If you're a new agent, don't think, oh God, I'll never hit that number. Tell yourself 1 a week and 4 a month. It's okay to start small. If you have a plan and a goal and you work it, the worst thing that can happen is all your diligent work pays off and you exceed those numbers. Okay. It's okay to set a remember, specific, measurable, right? Achievable, realistic. No, not achievable. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. If I'm Eden and I've been in the business 6 months, is it realistic to set $1 million goal for next year as my net income? No. Now, would I applaud her for doing it and going after it? That's right. I'm sorry, repeatable. That's right, Mike. Did I say realistic? I meant repeatable. So you got to set an achievable goal. So for Eden, it might be, I want to net $100,000 next year. All right. And if I'm Eden, all I need to do is take a 0 out of all these numbers and follow that plan, right? Instead of 2.5 million in GCI, I need 250,000 in GCI. Now, here's a quick tip, Eden. If you hit 250 in GCI next year, you won't spend 150 in expenses by virtue of just being an individual agent. So you'll actually keep more than that. But the numbers still apply, okay? So let's scroll down a little bit to the bottom of the page here. Benefits of the economic model, all right? So the first benefit is going to provide us with a number of appointments and units sold to meet your goal. How can we build a plan for next year if we don't know what we need to achieve that goal, right? So it's going to give us, this is how we find what our activities are, is we back it out from this number of what we want to make. Everything starts with our big why and what we need to make to achieve that big why. Oh, sorry about that. All right. reveal your conversion rates and identifies area for improvement. That's right. If you are tracking these numbers and I say, okay, so you should be getting about a 75%, 3 out of every 4 listing appointments, you should be getting them. And you say, man, I went on 7 and got 1. Hey, okay. Sometimes this stuff shows us the weak spots in our business, right? This is why we look into our numbers and know our numbers. If I'm Rick Servant and I'm listening and I'm thinking, good Lord, I only get 1 listing out of every 10. Well, then Rick knows maybe he needs to call me up. We need to talk some scripts. Maybe we need to talk about his presentation. Maybe there's something else lagging there. But Rick won't know that unless he knows his numbers and knows his conversion percentage. So he shared with us early, he was going to go with, he probably went on 80% of 80 buyer appointments last year. Now I know Rick has a strong sales background. I've even had other agents tell me, man, I just couldn't do it like Rick. They've talked about watching him walk around with clients and being impressed. I was not surprised. So I'll bet out of the 80 he went on, Rick probably, providing there was inventory for those buyers, probably could close 60 plus. So he's probably got a nice, strong 75% conversion rate, right? I can tell you right now, I had about a 7 to 5% conversion rate. You know, that those that can't do teach. That's why they took me out of being an active agent. Said, give us your license back. Go talk to these. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. I was worse than that. All right. So it allows you to master your business. If you want to be a master of your business, if you want to impress your clients, people you're going to partner with, if you want to be a master of your business, you should be able to rattle off what's your P&L, what's your conversion number, what's your team's goals, what's your individual goals. You have to master your business and you got to spend time in it. If you're not studying it, I saw a thing one time that to be an expert in anything, you just need to put 10,000 hours into it. As soon as you can get to 10,000 hours, you'll be an expert, right? Well, there you go. Are you spending 8 hours a day in your business? Are you spending 8 minutes a day? All right. One way or the other, starts you a clock at 10,000 and start ticking it off. The closer you get to 0, the closer you will be to success. All right. Keep the focus on a profit first perspective, right? You'll hear us say things like you need to lead with revenue. It needs to be all about profit first. I have to make money. I had one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with a rainmaker. And it made me proud to be in business with this person, and I won't embarrass them. But I was talking to them about their business, and we were talking about the way they were structured, and we were talking about they had allowed themselves to add another layer of lead generation beyond database and things like that. They had gone out and bought some Zillow type zip codes, right, to add to their team's bottom line. But they said, I would not let myself do that until I had established a floor of $10 million of production every year for my team. Until I knew I could hit this level, then I allowed myself to add something. Well, guys, that's the mindset you need to have, okay? Is you need to focus in on these models. You need to master your business. And when you get to that point, then you add something else. But the first thing they did was they had a lead with revenue, profit first mentality that said, no. I'm not spending that money on anything till I know my business is running the way it's supposed to be, and then I'm going to add that layer. I've used that story in so many coaching appointments and so many of these classes because that's a great way to look at it. Nobody's saying don't go do these things, but what we are saying is if you go spend all your money up front on these things, you may not survive, right? You may not make it. So you got to establish that foundation. I liken that to the parable of the wise man building his house on the stone, and the foolish man built his house upon the sand. And we all remember from Vacation Bible School what happened to the doofus on the sand, right? It washed his house away. You don't want to be that guy. Be the other guy or lady, that person, that agent. Sorry, 2020. All right. So it's to help keep your budget model in line, right? The economic model and the budget model work hand in hand. You know how much money you need. You know the activities you need. You know what your economics are. The budget is what's going to tell you where you can spend. It's what's going to, it's a report card on your economic model is your budget, right? How am I doing? Am I spending $10,000 a month on labor, but I'm only getting $2,000 a month worth of results? Man, I'm out of whack here, right? If you're spending $10,000 a month on labor, and that's generating another $100,000 a month to your business, hey, that's a home run, but you don't know that unless you know your numbers and have around it, right? It's going to provide benchmarks to hold your team accountable. So you rainmakers, this is the economic model is how we hold our team accountable, right? And it allows you to gain insight into your economic decisions before you make them. If I am an agent and I'm running a business, whether I'm individual or rainmaker, so often, and this goes back to the conversation I was sharing about how they wouldn't allow themselves to buy Zillow leads until they'd reached a certain point of economic activity. They understood that they weren't going to lay out that investment for potential return until they could afford to, right? So often agents, man, and we're all bad about this. We go to family, God, I've got something, I'm bad about it. I have something from last year's family reunion that has billed my card every month that my old team leader taught me into at family reunion. And I'm normally Mr. Stay away from the shiny objects. Don't spend that money. And dang it, she grabbed me and the girl had a good sales pitch at her booth. And my old team leader's like, oh, come on, do this with me. Come on, do this with me. She's not even with KW anymore. And so they're tacking me. It ends in February. My subscription does it. But, you know, we all fall victim of it. It's okay. Let's all admit we're human, right? But you have to have insight into your economic decisions. This is how you do it, okay? Scrolling down to the next page, we're going to talk about lead generation activities. And guys, this is going to be so critical in 2021. If there is one thing out of an entire plan for 2021 that I would say is going to be critical, it's going to be all about the lead gen. All right. The easy button agent approach is not going to work in 2021. There is too much demand, not enough supply. Things are too competitive, and you are going to have to be on your lead generation game in 2021. Whatever you think your numbers are, hey, Jan, whatever you think your numbers are, and you say, oh, I need to have, we go back to Mike. If Mike needs to have 30 listing appointments every month, you better go and tune that up to 35 or 40. Add 10%, right? You're going to have to do it now and plan for their year now and start the year right. I can show you so many examples of agents I talked to in January and February that were doing these activities and planning and working as the year started. And man, they came out of COVID and most of our agents are having the best year ever. And it's not just because the market's hot, it's because they undertook the activities to gain those leads and to have that pipeline full, right? So here's a list here. Prospecting and marketing, understand the difference, right? So prospecting is relationship building. It's working in your church. It's communicating with your database. It's prospecting is working your have-mets, the people who you know. It's going out to people that are maybe, it says FSBOs and expired listings. Those are people that have shown an interest in selling their real estate. They just haven't listed it with you yet, right? Farming, so you come to the both and you got farming, geographic and demographic. There's lots of great tools within our technology that we cover on Fridays talking about how to farm, networking with your sphere. Events right now, I know with the pandemic, events are up and down, but hey, be creative. Are you hosting any events via Zoom for your clients? I'll tell you something we've done with the agents a couple times that we've actually seen such a tremendous response. We as a leadership group are talking about how to utilize it more. Is we ran a caption this contest with Carolyn's photo for her birthday. And let me tell you guys, if we send out an email or we send out a post, we might get 20 responses. I mean, we emailed, posted, bugged everybody to death about this thing for over a month, and we have 8 people on it, right? Which that's okay. Attendance is not compulsory. It's optional. But man, when we ran that thing for Carolyn, we had like 180 interactions and 70 replies on our private group. So that was just our agents. So do you have a private group for your clients? All right. A lot of agents that I've talked to recently, and I've seen a lot of success with this. I heard about it at Mega Camp and at Family Reunion, was a lot of people have started a private group for their clients. If you have closed a deal with me, I have a private Facebook group that you can go into, and I get my vendor partners to offer specialties to that group. I could post interactions with that group, right? I could have a funny picture. I could do a giveaway. So in your thinking about your events and things that you're going to do in 2021, we all don't like it. I wish you were all here in person and I was not on this Zoom, but the reality is this is going to be 2021 too. All right. If you get past it, accept it, your year's going to get better. If you sit around waiting for, oh no, it's not, guys, even if they approve a vaccine in the coming weeks or months, it'll take them till next year to produce it in mass for the population. This is not going away anytime soon. You need to be thinking about how you're going to navigate 2021 in this respect, okay?
Yeah, we're at the lake. We're gonna crush it.
Well, we are at the lake and we're still going to crush it, but be cognizant of it. So that's okay. That's all right. Andy's right. Let's keep it positive. He's got his great point, okay? And then marketing, advertising, pay-per-click, SEO. Guys, I want to challenge you all. I want to challenge everyone on this call. If you are spending one dime on anything lead generation related, if you're spending $1 on anything lead generation related, and you have not mastered all the free technology and free lead gen tools at your disposal through Keller Williams, I won't say wasting your money, but you may not understand, you may not be holding your money accountable, right? If you've got all this free stuff and you're not utilizing that, then what are you doing paying? It goes back to the conversation about the agent who wouldn't buy till they hit a certain level. Master your game here and then get the fancy. When you start playing golf, you don't go out and buy $1,000 set of golf clubs first. You go buy a scrubby set of clubs that you don't care when you skull them and break them and scruff them and, master your game first, then go get that fancy flop wedge, right? Or lob wedge, okay? So did I hear somebody piping up there? Elise? Yes, ma'am.
On the marketing, there's a huge thing going on Instagram right now. It's called Instagram TV. And what Instagram is trying to do is they are trying to basically be able to compete against YouTube for marketing, being able to have paid ads and things like that. So if you jump in on it now, if you have a somewhat established Instagram account and then start doing these Instagram TV videos, you're going to start to see, one, that your followership is growing, and two, you're getting in on the ground level. So you won't have to post as much content over time to be noticed, just because there's not a lot of volume for real estate Instagram videos. And you could do a walkthrough at an open house while you're there. I mean, it's just like Facebook Live, except you can stop and pause it.
Absolutely. Great point. So there you go. Guys, if you're already using social media, look at what that platform has to offer you from a free business standpoint. If you're a master of Instagram, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Go learn how to do Instagram business. If you're a master at Facebook, great. If you're, Twitter, stay off Twitter. No, just kidding, Mike. Just kidding. But be mindful and master what you got, right? Okay, so moving on to the budget bit. How we doing on time? Oh, we're perfect. God, you guys are perfect today. Everybody's participating. We're staying on time. The only thing wrong with this class is me. All right, let's keep cooking. So budget benchmarks, Elise, that's our next page. Uh-oh. Oh, there you go. All right, so budget benchmarks. So look down through here and it shows you, okay, if you make a gross commission income of $150,000, your cost of sales is probably around 13%. Your gross profit's going to be around 87%. Your expenses will come out and you'll end up with about 73.5. Now, I would encourage you, if you are a newer agent or an agent that has kind of reached around this level, I would say if you're grossing 150 but only bringing home 73.5, come talk to me. Let's see where we can trim some expenses. You're spending a lot of money to make that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I am saying I think if you're an individual agent and you're grossing 150, you should probably come in closer to the 90,000. Okay. So just something to be aware of. If you netted less than that on 150, definitely come talk to me. We need to talk about your expenses. We need to do a tech audit and dive in. As you look over, it also shows you the best practices for a gross commission income of 1 million, 2.5 million. Guys, we won't bog down on this one too much, only because everyone's budget is unique and individual. The important thing is you need to have one. And budgets, just like business plans and everything else, don't think you're glued to it. Understand that the best place to start is just sitting down and saying, I'm going to make a budget. All right. If you fail miserably, if you say, okay, if Eden sits down to make her budget, she says, I'm only going to spend $20 this week eating out, and she eats lunch all 5 days out and spends $100. Don't tar and feather yourself. Extend yourself some grace. Get back on the horse. Get your budget. Revision it, right? But it's important to have one. Having one, you remember the G.I. Joe cartoon, knowing is half the battle, right? That was their big tagline. Having a budget and knowing your numbers, that's half the battle for success right there. So look through this. It gives you an idea of what income levels you are, and it also gives you a little bit, as you get to the bigger numbers, a more realistic idea of how much money you have to generate to have an organization at that level. We scroll down through. Oh, thank you, Elise. Makes it a little bigger. We scroll down through and we see different expenses, okay? Shows you what best practices are, shows you a percentage that you should be putting towards it. Salaries and benefits, that could be you, could be an admin, could be some third party that you're hiring, professional services, prospecting and marketing, etc. Understand, and we're going to go through it, and there's deeper dives in this, and we have classes around the budget model, but understand you need a budget, and here's a good reference of how it would look at different points and how much money you would still make. Once again, so often as agents, we get 4 or 5 deals cooking, and we're like, oh man, look at this. I'm going to make $33,000 this month. Well, okay. What'd you budget for? What are you spending it on? What's your actual net going to be? 33 could turn into 18, and it can be so defeating when that actually happens, right? So, all right, let's scroll down through that. We're almost to the good stuff. Now you can see an MREA chart of accounts, okay? If you do not know how to do accounts and accounting and all those different things, get into the MREA, find the chart of accounts, master that simple accounting first, okay? You can always add things. You can always work with your accountant to grow it, but this is where you start learning how to be purposeful and not entrepreneurial. So many of us came from a job where somebody paid us X amount of money to show up Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and whatever, push a button, do whatever we were supposed to do, right? This is running a business. And if I could tell you the one thing, and Mike, Tiffany, Andy, any of you guys that are experienced, I'm sure you would probably agree with this. If I could tell you one thing that kicks people out of this business so often, it's that they treat it like a job and not a business. You did not go get a real estate job license. You really went and got a real estate business license. You're opening a business. If you treat it as such, you'll have a lot more success. If you wait around for paydays on Fridays, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I have not seen a payday on Friday since I got my real estate license. I've seen a payday on whatever day I got out there and hunted and killed something, right? So it's very, very important to master these. I also have had conversations with people that they use this chart of accounts in their personal life. Guys, that's an excellent idea, right? There's no reason that what you're learning here could not transfer over into your personal life or into your other businesses. This is a great place to learn fundamental business accounting. Get in the red book, get the chart of accounts, get it cranking. It's how we're going to get a P&L to know if you actually made any money. All right, so in the packet, and we're going to skip through it because, we're not going to spend a long time talking about the different levels you could grow your team to for the purposes of this conversation, but understand one of the mistakes that people make is building the team out of model. So at least if you'll go back up real quick, I'm just going to make a couple quick points on it. So obviously the first level, personal productivity. You need to master lead generation and mindset and vision. If I'm a new agent, I need to focus on lead generation and mindset and vision. When I was a coach, we had a rule in my program. You were not allowed to ask what's next. All right. What's next would get you some, we had some different little punishments, right? We'd call you out. We do fun things. We kind of tease each other. But the truth is, don't ask what's next, because until you master lead generation, we're not going to take our time worried about what's next. If you don't know how to lead generate, worrying about how to hire the 7th and 8th person on your team, let me assure you, is folly. Okay. I'm going to be clear cut about it, guys. Lead gen's first. Lead Gens 1, Lead Gens 1A, Lead Gens 2, Lead Gens 2A. I mean, master it 4 times, then add something else, right? Now, if you are an agent in their second year or third year, or you're growing up into it a little bit, maybe you're thinking about bringing on an admin, okay? There are pluses and minuses, but that's the next step. The model teaches us to apply leverage. So we've talked about leads, talked about listings a little bit. The other side of it is leverage. So if you're going to apply leverage, right, you need to apply it correctly. I see a lot of people that when they're ready to grow, they skip the admin and go get a buyer's agent. Don't do that. You get out a model, it won't work for you. I'm telling you, you need that admin to anchor down your systems and models so that you can stay on the money-making activities, okay? And then you build out through there. So if you're thinking about it, if you're looking at growing your team, if you're ready to go from just you to just you and somebody, call me. Let's set a time to talk about it. Call your productivity coach. They'll be happy to talk to you about it, and we'll dive into that more if you want. But read through these pages. They're excellent, and it gives you an idea of how you're supposed to structure it. Okay. Excuse me. Talking a lot. Need a drink. Okay. All right. Here we go, guys. This is where it gets cool. This is where it gets fun. So here is our build our 411 action goal worksheet, okay? My watch just told me to breathe. Apparently my blood pressure's up here. I'm talking too much. All right, so right here what we have is just an example of a 411 that's been filled out and it's left some blanks, okay? So right now I want you to take a couple minutes. If you printed out the materials, you can do it, or you can make some notes. But let's write down what we're going to put into these things when we do our 411, okay? So what's your net income goal for the year? What do you want to make next year? There is no bad answer except $1 and $1 trillion. I can't help with either of those two. Anything else, I got you. Okay, so I'm going to do this along with you guys. My net income goal, there you go. All right, what's your goal for contacts in your database next year? Okay. If you are Mike Staten said he thinks he's got 1,000, Mike, I'm gonna challenge you right here in front of everybody. I'm gonna challenge you to double that. Your organization should be able to add another 1,000 names to your database in the next 365 days, right? Now, that's okay. You don't have to, but I'm calling you out and challenging you because I believe you can. So guys, it's okay to think big here. Remember, big goals. He says challenge accepted. That's right. Bring it on, right? He says, big goals are not a bad thing, guys. Big goals are not a bad thing at all. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, gosh, 200 names, maybe I get 200 names. Go ahead and put 4, right? Go ahead and put 4. Let's stretch it. Let's use this exercise to stretch our minds and to establish in our mindset a belief that going into 20 and 21, we are going to have success. We're going to speak that into existence. We're going to get our mindset right around it. Okay. So other things you may want to do, and you can see some of it's filled in, like update your budget, right? Attend a leverage series, analyze my economic, lead gen, and budget models to determine my investment and the return I expect. So sit down and once again, all these models, all these numbers, your goal for the year needs to analyze at the end of the year what you did and understand what you made, where you failed, where you succeeded, etc. Okay. Now, a lot of us, when we're real estate agents, we believe that market is a gift of the volume is a gift of the market, and therefore we think in terms of units. So I know some of you top producers, when I said, well, what's your net income goal? You maybe had a number in mind, but if I say how many units, you definitely know how many units you want to do, right? So write down your number of units sold for next year, okay? And then you have your number of listing appointments that you'll need to go on and number of buyer appointments. And guys, you can back that out through the math that we looked at earlier. So don't worry, you're going to get a chance to go back and tune this up. We're just learning the overview of how to do it and talking about the whys and the what fors, okay? So that's our annual goal, all right? So that's for the year. What are we going to try and accomplish next year? Are we going to try to make 200,000, 300,000, 400,000? Okay, that's our goal. That's where we want to go with it. All right, so now we break it down. So the 411 is designed to get it down to a daily one thing, basically, to say, okay, what is the activity I have to undertake every day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year to achieve that annual goal. So we're going to break it down another step. If you put in there that you want to have 50 listing appointments, all right, or well, let's do something with easy math. If you said, I want 48 listing appointments, well, then your monthly goal for listing appointment needs to be what? Whoop. Did I ask a question? Was that not easy math? 48 divided by 12, right? So 4, all right? Our monthly goal needs to be 4. If your goal for listing appointments was 48, right? So we looked at the conversion rate. We talked about it earlier, 75% conversion rate. So if you back out your income number and your goal is, well, I need to have 36 closed unit sales next year, and you convert 75% of your appointments, then you need 48 listing appointments, which means you need 4 every month for 12 months, okay? So if your goal is, I challenged Mike, I want him to put 1,000 more names in his database. Mike says challenge accepted. Somebody grab a calculator. How many contacts does Mike have to add every month for 12 months to achieve 1,000? I'm guessing it's probably like 80? 83? 83, Mike says. He's gone to sign language. I thought you only knew a couple of words in sign language and none of them were safe for Zoom, but that's okay. All right. So if Mike's doing it, he's going to put 83 every month. I need to add 83 contacts. Okay. So you understand the concept. You set out your big year, you break it up into 12 months, then you break that up into 4 weeks each month. You'll hear me say it a lot. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. This is how you get that elephant cooked down to individual bites. Okay. All right. So go through that, make your notes in there, whatever you think is right. There's no wrong here. Okay. It's all right. So bust it down, make sure your math tracks. So then if I get down to week 1 and I had a goal of 4 listing appointments each month, all right, well then how many listing appointments do I need each week? That's right. 1. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Mike, that's sign language for 1 and something else. No. So there you go. So we need the 1 listing appointment, right? Or if I'm Mike and I need 83 contacts a month to reach my challenge of adding 1,000 names to my database, well, all of a sudden, if I'm busting that down from 83 a month, well, that means I need basically 21 a week, right? So Mike knows he's got to add 21 contacts a week to achieve that goal over the year. Okay. So this is the how, what, when, and where of a 411. Is taking your big why, your big goal, putting that number value there for your net income goal, and then working your way down through it. Okay. Questions around that? Ahas, feedback, opinions, disagreements, corrections? Anybody watch football yesterday?
I think what it does, Martin, when you break it down into weekly and even beyond, when you first say, I challenge you to put 1,000 people in your database next year, the first thing you're thinking like, holy crap, 1,000, that's a lot. It's 4 a day.
It's 4 a day. I love that.
4 a day doesn't sound nearly as bad as adding 1,000.
Absolutely.
And for me, a 411 always does is it basically, it chunks it down. Just like you say earlier, my goal is I want to make $1 million. You're thinking, holy crap, $1 million. But as you chunk it down to monthly and then to weekly and even get it down to the day, it's a lot, but it's a whole lot. It sounds a whole lot more achievable and doable than just the whole big number.
Sure.
Yes, I did see the Chiefs win yesterday, 6-1. Pat Mahomes, best player in the National Football League. Go ahead.
Fair enough. But Mike's exactly right, guys. One of the reasons for this activity is to get it down into manageable. Our brains as humans, you'll see those studies, we only use 6% of our brain power, or 7% of our brain power, right? Or 3%, but nobody's judging you, at least. So, at the end of the day, just kidding, Elise. Thank you for all your help. at the end of the day, sometimes it's just about getting this down to a number our brain can wrap around. Because if I tell you to go get 1,000 names, you think, where would I get them? If I told you to get 4 contacts a day, it does not seem as intimidating, right? If I tell you to get 20 a week. So it's all about breaking it down into a manageable, repeatable daily activity. You know, Andy made the point earlier, you get a little boring, right? Get a little boring. It's good for business. It's good in your business. We're not in the X Games, right? Business is not adventure and adrenaline for us. Business is all about consistency, knowing your numbers. So if I know I've got to hit 4 a day to get to my 21 a week, to get to my 1,000 for the year, then hey, all I got to do that day is get up, and my one thing has to be dragging those 4 contacts into that database. And if I achieve that, okay, everything else will become simple and easy and less important, right? So if you haven't read The One Thing, great book, let me know. I got a copy for you. Okay, so on the back here, as we go to the next page, we have Elise, back up. Whoop. There you go. Guys, we have a blank one. So the first one gave us kind of a template of how to write it in, of examples of things to put in there. Now here, if you're a new agent who's just doing this kind of stuff for the same time, Elise has shared these PDFs to the Facebook group as well as the chat. If you reach out to her directly at elise.jenkins@kw.com, I bet she'd even email it to you if you ask nice and included a Starbucks gift. No, I'm kidding. No Starbucks gift card. But get this printed out, guys. These materials, you can go back and reference. A lot of the information in this is not going to change. You could pull this out next year at this time of year and start working on your business planning with this. And full disclosure, I did not create these materials, right? Keller provided them for us in a PDF. So they're right there, easy to use. Use this blank one, all right? After we get done with the day and we've gone through everything that we're talking about and we've talked about how to do it, you need to sit down and spend some time trying. I'm happy to grade it out with you. I'm happy to talk about it with you. Don't feel like it's a one-shot deal. I would love to do nothing more with the rest of my time this year than spend time talking to you guys about your 411s. Okay, I'm lying. I'd like to play golf for the rest of the year, but it's cold, so I'll take 411s, okay? That's fair. All right, there we go. So moving on to the next page. How are we doing on time here? Oh, man, we're doing great. You guys are great. Next time, at least 2.5 hours for these. I don't think we'll need a full 3. We'll dial that down a little bit. We'll condense. I'll talk less. So begin by writing your net income goal. All right. So everybody, we're going to do an exercise here. We have this page right here, and we're going to back out. So we looked at the economic model earlier. Now here's where we're going to dive into the models. So let's dive in. So everybody, if you didn't print it out, make you some notes and follow down the little thing you can see here, the little map. So start out by writing your net income goal. So if I'm an agent and my net income goal is $100,000, that's what I'm writing there in the first section there where it says net income 40%, okay? So now divide net income by 40% to calculate the total GCI and write this number down, okay? So you're gonna go, if your net income is $100,000, then divide it by 0.4, and I'm guessing it comes to 250. Is that accurate? Elise, are you doing it on a calculator? Let me pull mine out here. All right, 100,000 times 0.4 equals, oh, sorry, not times 0.4, divided by 0.4. What am I doing? Divided by 0.4 equals 250,000, okay? So we're gonna put 250 down here in the GCI section, all right? So then multiply your GCI by 30% for both operating expenses and cost of sales and write these down. So I know that 30% is gonna end up being 75 and 75, right? So 75,000. So now as you're filling it out at home, you should have 100,000, 75,000, 75,000, 250,000 should be the first four numbers that you have written down, okay? So write in your average commission account. Average commission amount. And this is where it says, go back to page 5. So if you remember, when we first started talking, we stopped and we wrote down questions like, what's your average commission amount? Okay. Now, for the purposes of this exercise, we'll keep it simple. We'll say that your average sales price is, I'm going to say my average sales price is 200,000. And therefore, my average commission amount is $6,000, my average gross commission. All right. $3,000 per 100,000 at 3% rate. So I'm going to say my average commission amount is 6,000. Okay. And divide your total GCI by your average commission amount to calculate the numbers of units to be sold. Okay. So I'm going to take 250. I'm going to divide it by $6,000. I need to sell 41.6 units. Okay. 0.6 would be a house that doesn't have a garage or a back porch, right? That's 0.6. No, I'm just kidding. Better round up. Go with 42 units. All right. You can't sell a 0.6 of a house. Well, I don't know. Out in California, you might can. All right. So let's go with 42. There you go, big guy. We're going to say that means we need 42 units sold. 0.6. Elise says 0.6 is a second tier. It's one of those, it's a story and a half. It's a 1.5 story. That's a good point. Oh, Elise, have you been watching the chat? We got a lot of people popping in here. Challenges set for people. Okay. All right. Just making sure. All right. So we know that in order for us to achieve our $100,000 income, and remember, if you want to change these numbers, put a 0 on the end of all of them. Math works that way, right? So we know that we've worked down through and we have 100,000, 75,000, 75,000, 250,000, 6,000, and 42. So we've made it down that far. All right. So now we need to calculate the rest of the formula. Do you know your split? Do you know that you're a 60-40? So you agents that have been here a while, you may have an idea of what your business split is. For those of you that haven't, so Eden, Dave Hallmasser, anyone that this is the first time for your exercise, just go with a 50-50 split. It's okay. That may not be wholly accurate, but for the purposes of these exercises, let's just keep it simple, right? And let's assume it's going to be a 50-50 split, okay? So I'm going to say 50-50, which means I'm going to need 21 seller listings sold, and I'm going to need 21 buyer listings sold. And you see we're moving towards the bottom of the page here, and we're making our notes. And then, excuse me, we're going to calculate how many appointments we're going to need, right? So I need buyer seller listings sold 21. I need buyer listings of total units sold 21. So my total seller listings sold has to be 21, right? I went with a 50% and a 50%. So my total buyer listings sold are 21, my total sellers. Now, my percentage sold conversion rate, this is where it's important, okay? Now let's assume 75% is your conversion rate. If you know your conversion rate and you want to plug it into these numbers, I encourage you to do so. If you don't, Eden, Dave, you other people, you might, if you're a brand new agent, you might put in 50%. It's okay if you end up converting more, but you want to err on the side of my conversion rate's not as good as it will be 6 months from now when I've had more training. But for this exercise, we're going to say 75%. So if I have a 75% conversion rate, that means I need a total of 28 seller listings to achieve 21 sold. Make sense? Questions, ahas, feedback? Anyone lost in the math so far? Nope. Okay, groovy.
The maths tripped me up a little bit, but I think got it figured out. I have no idea why you would put me on finance in the ALC as hard as I had to struggle to figure that out.
Because it's a learning opportunity, Coach. I want an excuse to talk about numbers with you every month. I want an excuse for you to ask questions every month. I want to learn in. If all we ever did was put ALC members in their comfort zone, we would not be helping you guys grow either, right? So that's the why of it. Because next year, Coach, I expect you to teach this class. That's what we're going to do.
Well,
you're going to master numbers so much that you're like, get out of the way, Martin. I got this. You look ridiculous on Zoom. Let me handle it. Okay. So we're going to go with that.
I just wanted to confess that so other people didn't think that it was just them. Everybody struggles in certain areas, and that's why I participate in these classes, because when Martin starts talking numbers, I glaze over. I'm just like, it's like I'm hearing Russian. So I just wanted everybody to know, if you struggle with this, you're not the only one, and that's why we're doing this together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And guys, you know what? Tiffany makes a great point. Do not be embarrassed if you struggle with this. Don't feel bad. Come see me. Come see Coach Tiffany. Call one of the ALC members. Ask a top agent. We are here to help each other. We will pour in. We will help you understand it. You know, not everybody is a math whiz. Not everybody can calculate stuff out in their head. I certainly can. I've got the calculator open over here, kind of cheating a little bit, right? So I know that if I'm going to do 21 buyers and 21 sellers at a 75% conversion rate, that means I need 28 total buyer listings and 28 total seller listings, okay? So if my conversion rate on appointments is, let's say, let's just go ahead for easy math and say you have a 50-50 conversion rate. Every appointment you go on, for every 2 you go on, you get 1 of them, okay? So we're going to call it 50%. All right, so if I have a 50% conversion rate and I need 28 listings, then I need how many listing appointments? Test to see who's following along here.
Sorry, I was doing my own, Martin. If you
That's okay. If you're doing your own, do your own. Don't let me distract you. I'm trying to teach from an easy math standpoint. So the question was that I posed was, if I have a 50% conversion rate and I know I need 28 listings for the year to hit my goal, how many listing appointments do I need?
56.
Right, 56. And since we're working on the 50-50 theory for this exercise, you'll need 56 buyer appointments to achieve your goal as well. So if you're following along at home, we have now put in our goal for our net income. We have backed out what our expenses and cost of sales should max out at, what our potential gross income needs to be to hit that goal. We've got our average commission, how many units at an average commission will take to hit that goal. And we've got our conversion percentages down through here. Now, at least I can assume we are recording this as well. Good news, guys. If you missed something, we're going to be sharing this out on our YouTube channel, Keller Williams Lake of the Ozarks Realty. If you will please subscribe. Andy is sharing his. Oh, I couldn't read that. Share it with us, Andy.
Which part?
Well, whichever part you show. What's your net income goal? Can we get personal? This is a safe space. You don't have to share if you don't want to.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
My wife's sitting behind me, so this might make her uncomfortable. So.
Sorry, Casey.
That's okay.
400,000 net income goal.
Okay. So Andy, now you are a believer in the models and systems. Do you run at a pretty approximate 30% and 30%?
I run at exactly 30%. It's exactly 30%. We had a P&L meeting on Thursday, and we were exactly at 30%, 30 and change.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We didn't think so. It was an approval meeting. We didn't think so.
Yeah, I was fixing to say, one of the things I love about Andy is I knew that he'd had that conversation, and I know he said we can do better, right? We can do better. And that's okay. You should always have the mindset of it. Understand that we're not saying no matter what, you should spend 30% of your money in expenses. What we're saying is if you're spending more than 30%, we need to talk about your budget. We need to talk about something that's missing. This is a good target. If you can trim it down to 15%, hey, there you go. You see, Andy made his poor wife start working for free just so he could get his expenses down. So do whatever you got to do. Just kidding, Andy.
Good. You're good. So
all right.
Different is the cost of sales.
Okay.
You agree, Mike?
Yes.
Cost of sales to me seems really high.
I would agree with that. There are some things they're putting out an MREA too, and I'm assuming it's going to be updated. There's some things from the model, just given the age of the information now, I would guess that technology had not evolved to replace some of those costs of sales, and that probably 20%, 15 to 20% is a more accurate, if you haven't utilized technology to shave half of those costs off, albeit through a virtual admin that's not as expensive as another full-time admin, or through a CRM that provides you with things that you didn't have and you had to do paper mailing all the time. I would say cost of sales probably that's a great point. 30% is high, especially the bigger number. So if I'm on the 40-30-30 model and I'm using Andy's number, so 400,000 is where I need my 40 to be. Well, that means my 30 is 300,000 and my 30 is 300,000. So 300,000 in expenses. Okay. You run a big team, you do $1 million in GCI, you're going to spend money. You're going to spend money on science, photography, all sorts of expenses, office space, training. You're going to have to retread your shoes because you're out there hustling so much, right? So that's a factor in it. But 30% at 300,000 for cost of sales, there's probably a way to trim that number. Absolutely. So great point.
Do you think they had rent figured in that, Martin? Do you think they were figuring rent? I mean, we're so much more virtual now, but that could be a big chunk if they had rent figured in there.
I would say if we dug down into it based on when they wrote it and who they were interviewing, who had built their businesses through really the 80s and 90s into becoming the megas that they talked to write that book, that yeah, there's a lot of things that the internet and technology has changed for that model. Andy, if we can dig in a little deeper, because I love where you went with it. What's your goal for cost of sales? What do you feel like is the right number?
We're at 23% cost of sales, and that's because I include some expenses. Like Tiffany, what you're saying for rents, it's not supposed to be considered in cost of sales.
Right.
So we add things to make our operating expenses look better into cost of sales, and we still are at 23.4% of cost of sales. So
would you say, go ahead.
I think 15 to 20% makes sense. I don't think you should be over 20% on cost of sales because it's very affordable to work for KW. I mean, it's your caps, it's your team caps. If you have a team, it shouldn't be.
Absolutely. I agree. And that's a great point. And guys, that's why stuff like this is so important to get participation and why we're so grateful when top agents come and share with us, because it helps us all understand and pull the curtain back a little bit. All right. So 20%, good goal. If you're newer and you want to stick with the 40-30-30 model, we're not throwing rocks at it, but I would say I agree with Andy. Probably there's a lot of things that can help you get that down. Yes, sir. Mike.
I have a question. I guess it'd be for Andy. If you're not 40-30-30, if your cost of sale is 20, and mine is usually the same. I have a thing with my MAPS coach. We're usually in the upper teens, so we're usually right around that 20. But my question is, because one thing I don't know is if your cost of sale goes from, let's say, 30 to 20, then is your 40 going up, or what's changed? Is it more like 50, 30, 20?
Yeah, you want your net income to be as high as possible.
Right.
So rather than, I've always thought that 40-30-30, it's more like 50-30-20 probably, right?
Sure. Well, and to Andy's point, yeah, I mean, honestly, Mike, what we'd love is if it was 85-15-5. Right. But that's not realistic. And that's a folly. It goes back to the conversation with newer agents, they get that $3,000 gross commission, think, oh, I made $3,000. And by the time they factor what they spend on it, they made $1,100. The 40-30-30 model is designed to give you a platform that says, hey, you need to be at least hitting this. If you can do better, right? You have to spend money to make money. You can't take too much. I used to equate it to, I manage my grandmother's finances. I have for a long time. My grandfather died in 94. I've taken care of my grandmother. She's 80 something now. And obviously she has not worked since my grandfather died. and therefore grandmother's income has been relatively nil. So I used to have to explain to her that, well, grandmother, now we have a milk cow. Let's imagine your money's like a milk cow. We can get the milk every day and you can be healthy and live for the rest of your life. If you make me go cut the hind quarter off that milk cow and put it on a smoker, you're not going to have milk very long, right? So, it's one of those concepts where you have to understand your milk cow and how much milk you can take. Is that just way too country boy? Everybody's eyes glazing over like, God, I'm so tired of Tex here with his sayings. All right, so real quick, guys, Elise is letting me know it has been another hour, so I know everybody needs probably a couple minutes to stand up, give it the blah, 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 shake it out a little bit. One thing, I want to full disclosure, I made a mistake here. I had my pages backwards. We were supposed to go your actual numbers here and your pro forma there. So it's okay. They're both blank economic model pages. So this was kind of, we were talking about if you wanted to plan, use these numbers. If you want to assess your year this year, go back and use this blank one and test them against each other. Fill in what you actually made. Fill in how many appointments you go. If you ALC members don't know how many ALC appointments or how many listing appointments you went on, remind me to bring that up next ALC meeting and we'll coach you up on that, okay? All right, Elise, let's give everybody another 8 minutes and we'll pick it back up at 2:05. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mike, is it snowing there?
Just drizzle right now. It snowed earlier, pretty good flurry, but it's too warm to stick. I'm over it though.
You done? Have you seen this sheet before, Mike? What we were just doing?
Page?
What we were just doing?
Oh yeah. I tell you who's real good at doing it is Matt.
Oh, Matt's the best.
Yeah.
Matt's the best at it.
My maps coach is the same one as Matt's.
Mm-hmm.
He's real, he's very, very smart, and he's very analytical in numbers. And I mean, he gets down to it's a science. I mean, it's crazy. We'll go through we call it Circle of Financial Clarity, and we have tabs at the bottom of each of the models and all these things. And I mean, he punches in my numbers and converts this. If we're going to make this, he's just, and it's hard for me sometimes to follow because my mind doesn't work like that. I'm not a real numbers driven analytical type of person. I tell you who else it used to be with us in Jeff City is Jeff Kramer.
Mm-hmm. I know Jeff.
He's like that. He'll sit and create models and spreadsheets and all this crap. And I can barely log into my Gmail account. It's just that's not my thing. Will you pull my door shut, babe? Thanks. So anyway, yeah, this is something that when I do it, I've got to really sit in silence by myself.
Well, I think my computer keeps freezing up. I don't have good internet connection. Sorry. I think it's important for, like, I don't know Eden very well, or David or Rachel, but it's probably important for them to understand that whenever we first started, there's no way that we could have, I mean, this would have went over my head even. So
well, that's the thing. I forgot who I was talking to. We had a great sales meeting in Jeff City last week, and I said, and some of them were really inspired, but yet they didn't, you got to go slow with them. And I'm like, dude, I've been in business 15 years. I've been with Keller Williams almost 4, and I was team leader for 18 months. Now, granted, all I did was walk around and drink coffee, but even said, it's still hard for me to, I got to sit. And so anybody that doesn't follow along, yeah, that's a good point, is don't worry about it. Cause even those that's been in it a while and it's hard to understand.
yeah, one-on-one conversation would help with them.
Huh?
One-on-one conversation with just their goals.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do I keep hearing somebody's toilet, or what is that noise?
I'm up here in my office. I
Nice.
don't hear it.
Maybe it's just on my end. But I'd like to get our mastermind back together. This is the perfect time of year to start working on that. Our group.
I need to get a hold of Matt. He reached out to me about getting it started back up as well. So we should just start doing it.
I love it. I need it and I love it. He's doing good. I talk to him all the time.
You guys let me know when you want to do the masterminding, because personally I miss it as well. I'll get it on the calendar. You guys just let me know when.
Well, this one's a different one. This is one that there was just a handful of us that did. But I agree, Elise, if there is one, yeah, we put it on, that'd be great. I tell you what we need, Elise, is something like this. We've added a lot of agents to Jeff City, and a lot of them don't know this, and nobody wants to drive to Jeff City. So if we did something like this on a Zoom where everybody could get on, even if we went in the training room in Jeff City and pulled it up on the big TV, we have a big TV in there. You just plug your computer into it. We could all sit and do it together. That'd be awesome. Because any of this kind of business planning stuff, the people that we've brought over from other companies, they've not done this. This isn't something they've done.
Mike, I'm glad you said that. That's why we did the budget model and dove in deep on that conversation in Jeff City not last Friday, but the Friday before. My intention this Friday when I come is to bring these packets and do a hybridized version for the Jeff City agents.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll make sure everybody's there.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
And the Friday morning Zooms will be on Facebook Live now as well, as long as it works. Last Friday it wouldn't work for me, but as long as my internet is somewhat sustainable, I will continue to try to do this on Facebook Live, because there was one point where we had 6 people watching on Facebook Live and then the 8 of us on here. So it's definitely reaching people in a more efficient way for all of us.
Okay. Good stuff, Elise. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
I don't know what they're paying you down there, but it's not enough.
Yeah, you tell Martin Richardson he at least needs a raise and a Baxter's gift card for Christmas.
I'm sorry you're breaking up. You're breaking
Yeah.
up. I don't know. You must not know how to unmute yourself, Elise. It's weird. You're frozen
Well,
like
is
that.
it weird?
She muted me. Touche, touche. All right, everybody. So we're doing good, and we're going to try to finish strong. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. I know this is a longer class, but it's a lot of great information to cover, and I feel like we've already covered a ton of stuff that if you do nothing else, but you know your numbers, you do your economic model, you start to build your 411, That's going to help, right? So now we're going to dive in here on your business plan and your lead generation model, okay? So some of the numbers you need to know are going to include how many contacts are needed to achieve the goal of my economic model, right? So let's say that we went back and we said, okay, we're going to need 56 total seller appointments needed in order to achieve our goal of 21 seller listings sold, okay? So what is the number we're gonna need in our database as far as contacts? How many leads are we gonna need to get to the 56 total seller appointments, okay? So what's the rule of thumb? It used to be for every 50 names in your database, I believe you had one closing. Is that accurate? Anybody? Bueller?
I think that I was thinking it was, I was trying to think too. Is it 1 in 50? They always broke it down like Met was 1 in, am I overthinking it?
Is it in the MREA?
It is in the MREA. That's right. And now
I'm pretty sure it's 1 in 50 if I remember from when we read
I think
it.
that's right.
I believe it is that 1,000 names in your database worked appropriately should yield 20 deals. So we're going to work on that 50-to-1 ratio. And guys, honestly, that's probably accurate and may even be increasing because there's, to Andy's point earlier, when we were talking about cost of sales, technology has also expanded everyone's reach, and there's so many more people clamoring for the business. There's so much more noise out there that you may need 60 or 70-to-1 to achieve that, okay? So right now, as we're building our business plan and we're talking about the lead generation model, we need to say, okay, I have X contacts needed to achieve the goals of my economic model. So for my purposes, we said we're going to need 56 seller appointments needed, and we're going to need 56 buyer appointments needed. We know that 50 equals 1 closing. So let's say we need 42 closings. What's 42 times 50, Elise? See how quick she can do the math in her head. All right.
It's longer to unlock my phone than it did to.
That's okay. I had mine here. So 2,100, I'm going to need 2,100 contacts in my contacts are going to be needed to achieve the goals of my economic model. All right. So I'm going to write in 2,100. Now, if your numbers are different, use this to write in your numbers. Okay. So how many contacts are in my database today and how many are needed to add to my database to get to my number? Let's go back. We're going to pick on Mike here. Mike threw out 1,000. That's a good round, easy number. So if Mike needed 2,100 and he has 1,000 today, then he needs that 1,100 added to his database to get to 2,100. Remember, this is all falling in line because what we challenged Mike to do at the beginning, to set a goal to add that other 1,000. That pretty much gets him there, right? So we know that if our goal is 2,100, and we'll give Mike credit that he's a little undershooting. We'll say he has 1,100 in his database and that he needs to add 1,000 to achieve the goal that we set out in our economic model. Okay. Well, we know that breaks down to 83 need to be added each month. All right. Which breaks down to 21 needing to be added each week. Okay. 21 added each week, or 4 a day approximately is how that works down, okay? So when we're talking about our plan, we need to know our business. So much of business planning is around knowing your business and your numbers. Lead generation source. Everybody take a minute. You've got your pen there. You see the blank spot. Write down 4 current lead generation sources for you, okay? Take a second here.
Hey, since we're running so efficiently on time, can we have some people share their lead gen sources? This is something that I find fascinating.
You read my mind. I was giving everybody a chance to think about it. And then I was going to say, okay, somebody share a lead gen source for me. Help me fill mine out here. I'm a new agent. I don't know what to do. Somebody tell me a lead gen source.
You didn't say she has
Their
a,
Facebook.
Facebook.
All the people, everybody on Facebook, they could sit there at night and make a message in the instant messenger, just introducing themselves. And we've been friends on Facebook for a while. And I've got something going right now that I've got my people doing. It's basically, hi, the market is a seller's market right now. Have you ever thought about selling in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Would you like to know what your property's worth? And just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And they need to do about 40 of those, 20 of those per day. If you take that times 5 days, that's 100. And then you keep adding those people into your database, because you're going to get their email when you ask to send them a CMA of what what their property's worth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my favorite stories from my first family reunion with Keller Williams was in New Orleans when they rolled out Command. And I was a productivity coach. And boy, I was so excited. And they rolled it out and said, okay, everybody go back to your hotel room and break it. Y'all go play with it. And we all went home. And what's the first thing we all did? We uploaded our database in there. And then the next day, who can remember what Gary said? Anybody remember? Because I do, because it really struck me. Go ahead, Coach.
He said, we realize we have a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. Nobody has anybody's addresses and emails and that stuff. So that gave us a reason to call everybody and get the rest of their information.
Absolutely. He said nobody had any address. He said, guys, how are you supposed to be the real estate expert of choice for your database if you don't know where their real estate is, right? How can you sell it? So I left. I had a giant aha. I drove back. I had the benefit of, everybody knows I'm from Texas. It was only about an 8-hour drive down to New Orleans. So me and our in-house broker at the time, we jumped in the car together and rode to family reunion together and rode back. Gave us a great chance to talk real estate. And on the way back, we talked about this big aha, that what Gary said was, hey, you could do more with 100 true contacts than you could with 1,000 names and email addresses. Because if you've got 100 true contacts and you know where their house is, you could be their real estate expert. What Tiffany just said, you could reach out and offer a CMA. If you don't know where their house is, then you're not the real estate expert of choice for them, right? You don't know anything about their business. So I love that. Coach, I'm going to call it social media. We're going to say Facebook and any other social media. We're going to say social media is one. Somebody give me another lead gen source real quick.
my number one is my sphere.
Sphere of influence, right? SOI. If you're a new agent and you're wondering where your business will come, you need to leverage your allied resources, right? You need to leverage mom, dad, uncle, brother, best friend, college roommate, brothers, uncles, cousins, college roommate. Anybody tell me where that movie's from? You get a serious free office bill if you can name that movie.
One more time.
Your brother's uncle's college roommate.
Gerald would know it. I know we've seen it.
Spaceballs. The movie is Spaceballs. All right. If you haven't seen it, it's a Mel Brooks classic. Go watch it. Okay. So the point is your sphere of influence, because guys, when you're a new agent, so if I'm Eden and I'm brand new, Eden, it's going to be harder for you to get people to trust you with their real estate because you're brand new. That's okay. If you tell me you're going to be a great real estate agent, I say, maybe. But if your uncle Rick Servant tells me you're a great real estate agent, well, I know Rick. I trust his opinion. If Rick speaks for you, all of a sudden you go way up the chart in my mind, right? So when you're a brand new agent, the first people you need to talk to needs to be your inner circle. You need to be massaging. Guys, if you're not, everyone you know, NAR statistics teach us that everyone you know knows about 4 real estate transactions a year. And if you think about it, that's true. We all know somebody that gets married or divorced. We all know somebody who downsizes or upsizes, has more kids or less kids, someone whose kids have gone off to college and they're empty nesters. If you think about it, we all know those. So in theory, if I had 100 people in my sphere of influence that I was working correctly, I am one person away from 400 transactions. 400 transactions from that 100 people I know. Now, I'm not saying that that's always going to be the case. I'm not saying they're all going to send them to you. But guys, one thing that you'll hear me say a lot is math really doesn't lie. I love math because it kind of pulls the mask off and says, this is the truth, right? So sphere of influence is a great one. What's another lead generation source?
Can I ask a question about sphere of influence real
You
quick?
can, if you'll call it spear more.
Okay, spear. I didn't know we were spearing something like a pig. Thought it was a sphere like a circle. Or my inner circle. How about I just go with words I can pronounce? So I found through my several business ventures that my inner circle is extremely unresponsive. So what are some things that, like my own mother doesn't even follow my business pages. So what are some things that you can do to kind of bump that up some and bypass that, because that can get extremely discouraging?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So let me share with you my personal story, okay? When I got into real estate, I had come from a world where I only operated my own businesses, and I was working for a construction company doing quality control. So I was not dealing with the clients. I was on the job site side, managing the crews and things like that. Believe it or not, guys, I have an antisocial bent part to me. I'm not anti-people. I just am not a big social circle guy, right? I wasn't even on Facebook. I was not on social media. When my new broker said, sit down and make a list of 100 names, I got to 37, right? And I thought, oh my Lord, where am I going to find all these other people? Well, there was no short answer to grow my circle of influence overnight, Elise. So it's about the conversations you're having with them. Where I found success was I reached out and I quantified my list by people that had money, influence, or both. And I made sure that I had conversations with those people that had money or influence or both. And in those conversations, do you know what we talked about the majority of the time? Anyone?
Real estate.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. We talked about them. We talked about them, right? You'll hear us say things around sometimes that say, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care, right? I would take these people to lunch and I would say, hey, how's things with you? I'd take Andy, my buddy Andy from high school to lunch, and I'd say, Andy, what's going on with your business? What's going on with the wife? What's going on with the kids? I made it a point to just keep asking them questions about them. And you know what happened at the end when I was pulling out my card to pay for lunch? Andy would say, God, man, I feel bad. We've talked about me the whole time. How are you? What's going on with you? And in that 5 or 10 minutes, I had his undivided attention. So when I said, oh man, things are great. I went into real estate on the commercial retail side, got a lot of things cooking, really excited. And before you knew it, right, I had started getting deals in the pipeline and getting referrals. A couple of people off that list accounted for 7 of my first 16 transactions. All because I leveraged them and talked to them. So that's a great one. Sphere of influence. Okay. So other sources of leads might be, whatever. We'll call them billboards, which don't spend your money on billboards, but we'll say Andy's shaking his head no. We're just using these for imaginary, right? And then also, let's say a lead gen source for you is, mailers. Maybe you're a farmer. Maybe you farm your neighborhoods with postcards and things like that. So we'll put farming. Those are the current things you do. Think about, as you're doing this activity and you're building your 411, think about future lead gen sources. Is there something that you'd like to do, but you've set yourself a goal of, okay, I'm going to get to 100 people in my inner circle. And then once I do, I'm going to spend $50 on a dialer every month, or I'm going to spend $100 on Facebook ads, whatever your future lead generation sources are. They're things that will go to it. Okay. Now, my lead generation activity. Okay. Your lead generation activity, this is where it all comes together. If you're not doing this, the whole point of the 411 and everything else boils down to how do I get to this activity every day, each and every day, like Andy said, get boring with your business, do the same thing, make it repeatable, and how will that throw off success? So my lead generation calls daily, what does that number need to be, right? Well, if we go back to our economic model part of our business plan and we say, okay, well, my goal was to have 42 total units, and I know I need 112 appointments to get to that. And I know based on this math that to get to that number, I got to have 2,100 contacts in my database. It got to be worked properly. And I know that I've got to call everyone in my database every quarter, touch them these different ways. Well, then my activity, my calls every day are going to, let's say for every call I make, every 10 calls I make, I set 2 appointments. Okay. So if my goal each month, you know, we boiled it down, right? We talked about how many sold, what's the percentage. So if you look back at our numbers and you say, okay, I need 56 total buyer appointments and 56 total seller appointments. I need 112, right? If I divide 112 by 12 for the month, that means I need approximately 10 appointments a month. So if I'm getting 2 appointments for every 10 calls, and we know that 50% of our appointments fall out, right? Well, then that means I need to be making probably 20 calls a week, which boils down to the appointments will, right? If we have 2 for 10, then we need to get 4 because we know 2 of them will fall out. Okay. So then I'm at my 2 appointments per week for my 20 calls. So I need to make 5 calls daily. So that's how you back into that number. And that number can change for everybody. When I was a coach, I was a devout daily 10-4. Tiffany will tell you, I preach it all the time. The staff will tell you, a daily 10-4. If you don't know what a daily 10-4 is, guys, make a note right now. A daily 10-4 is the fundamental baseline. If you do this every day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year, you will be a successful real estate agent. That is 10 contacts made. That is 10 names added to your database. That is every day, 10 contacts made every day, 10 names added to your database every day. That is 10 handwritten notes every day. Now, I would encourage you to remember it's 2020. Handwritten notes may be a combination of direct messages and actual handwritten notes. You know, it's some people like to be communicated with via direct Facebook message, things like that. And 10 homes previewed each week, or 2 a day, 5 days a week, right? That's your 4 10s. So that should be your goal right there, okay? So you come down, and at least give me a scroll down here. We'll pick up the bottom of this page. So my 19 to connect touch campaign for leads, okay? My 36 to convert touch campaign for contacts, okay? So understand there's 2 different ones here. Leads are people that aren't in your database yet, that aren't in your contacts. You haven't grabbed them necessarily yet. They're names that have come in. They're going to get a quarterly call. They're going to get a monthly email, like the fix and forget. You know, Command has a smart plan for that. A monthly neighborhood nurture. If you haven't set everybody, you've got an email address up and a physical address on a monthly neighborhood nurture. Guys, you can't do it fast enough. Command will do the heavy lifting, right? We all know when I tell you, hey, you got to touch everybody 36 times a year, the first thing that happens is that little monkey in the back of your mind, the little bold monkey says, I don't want to bug my people with 36 phone calls to sell something. Nobody told you to do that. We said you need to touch them that many times a year, right? Your technology will do the heavy lifting for you, okay? Now, Command won't call them and talk to them for you. We haven't quite gotten it that smart yet, but it will do monthly emails. You can even embed videos in your Command emails now. There's lots of options, right? You need 2 direct mails. You need an annual event. Those are all the connect touch campaigns for leads. So this is how I'm going to connect and take somebody who I got their name and number from an open house and convert them into a met person in my database that's going to throw off business and referrals. Your 36 to convert touch campaign for contacts. Anybody that's in your inner circle, anybody that's done business with you, these people that you've already imprinted on, and you're their real estate expert of choice. You're who pops to mind. You're calling them once a quarter. You're sending them 26 emails biweekly. Hey, guess what? Command has a biweekly neighborhood nurture. Command will do the 26 touches for you. All you got to do is put them on there, right? You have a couple of events, get-togethers, parties, etc., and then once a quarter, you send a promotional direct mail. And before you think, oh God, what am I going to think of? Guys, every quarter there's a holiday. Every quarter there's a holiday. If you did nothing but send a Christmas card, a Valentine's card, a Mother's Day card, and a 4th of July card, you could get four quarterly mailings in a year, right? So very easy. So understand that part of your business plan has to be your lead gen model and what are the activities you're going to undertake to execute that lead gen model. Questions, ahas, feedback around that, successes, failures, things you didn't like?
Can I share one thing about social media? And this is at least
As long as it doesn't start on May 21st.
May 19th.
Oh, whatever, May 19th.
May 19th, 2019. That's funny, Martin. One of the things that we do, this is probably, I had a lease in mind with this. When you were talking about your sphere, they don't always respond and stuff, or even if probably my second best lead gen is past clients. And if you're a newer agent and you don't have a lot of past clients, one of the things I do, because I love social media, I'm on it too much, is we've got these cards and it says State and Group Keller Williams. And on the back, it just says State and Group of Keller Williams Realty, has our website, and it has my wife's favorite hashtag, just stating the facts. I can go through social media about every day and find somebody that just lost their dog, or maybe have a new pending birth or something that's happened in their life, that a quick handwritten note in this, hey, I'm so sorry about the loss of your dog. Tonka was I always enjoyed the pictures you shared of him. I'm so sorry to hear that you lost him and stuff. And they get this in the mail. People like that, and they remember that kind of thing, that you had the courtesy and the thought of them, that you thought of them and took enough time to not send them a card that says, hey, who do you know that can buy, sell, or invest in real estate?
Yeah.
But it was something genuine. These come from Vistaprint. They're very inexpensive. Hey, congratulations on the birth announcement. I can't wait to meet little girl Mahomes, or, whatever the case may be. But you can scroll through Facebook. We use amcards.com too, Martin. That's amazing. We've used that to success as well. But this is something that's cheap and really easy. Spend 30 minutes scrolling through Facebook or Instagram. You can always find 5 people that's had something on their life. You can send a quick handwritten note, and we've used this to our advantage and as a success.
Something that Tiffany talks about frequently, and this morning was no different in our team meeting and the PC meetings, is she'll scroll through, and if she sees something like a graduation event or something, she'll put that on an AM card and send it out. And she was pointing out this morning, if you put the birth of their grandchild on there, the new grandbaby picture, they're not going to throw that card away. It's going to sit on their fridge until it turns yellow. And it's going to be there for forever, and your information's on the back of it, and they can make it to where it looks handwritten. There's been a couple that I've sent out that even I was like, "Ooh, was that handwritten?"
And I will tell you, there's a lot of AM cards, I'm hoping, on refrigerators around California, Tipton, Jefferson City, Missouri, that we have sent. And that's a thing. You never touch the card. You never touch the envelope. You never touch the stamp. It comes from them. You just type in the message and who it's to, and bam, it's done. So that's another great way, either the AM cards or even just, something easy like this with your.
Absolutely. I love that. And Mike, you're so right. It takes so little time to show someone, to show that you care a little bit, and people will be touched by that personal touch. And I go back to the pandemic. Those of you guys that remember, and I know it feels like it's been here for 2 years, but back in March and April, when we shut down and we had to stay out of the offices for a month and things like that, for those of you that were with us, we Zoomed every morning. We did a 9 a.m. Zoom every morning for whoever wanted to attend, to try to keep our people, sane, to try to communicate, to try to spend time together, to try to learn real estate. And one of my favorite things that came out of that was Matt Ford. If you don't know Matt Ford, Matt is an excellent real estate teacher. I love having coaching conversations with Matt. I feel like I learn more every time I talked to him than I could ever teach him. And one of the things he came on there and said a couple times that really stuck with me, and you saw it prove out in his business. He said, you know what? I'm just calling and asking people how they're doing, right? So many of us went and adopted a mentality during that shutdown of don't call and say, hey, Eden, you want to sell your house in the middle of the pandemic? Instead, just call and say, hey, Eden, how you doing? Are you going crazy? Are you stuck at home? Yeah, me too. Gosh, I know it's tough. Anything we can do for you? Guys, I watched Matt practice what he preached. He said, I turned off the news and I did this. Do you know he closed 22 transactions in June? All right. And just to be clear, what we do today affects us about 90 days out. So if you go back 90 days from the end of June was his March and April where that was his focus. And having those conversations with his database yielded that much business in a single month, right? That's why things like the cards, those are so important. So great point, Mike. You know, Facebook will tell you whose birthday it is. You can have, it takes such little effort. Now, I will give you a second story to remember that, and then we'll move on to this last couple pages. Is I had my first broker always told a story of a lady who was excellent. She sent out to her database every month her little postcard with her recipe of the month. And she did it, and she did it, and she did it. And then one day, some clients called her, some former clients, and said, hey, we just wanted to give you our updated mailing address because we moved and we still want to get our recipe of the month card. See, they used another agent to buy the house and sell the house, but they wanted to make sure she knew where to send her recipe. So it's okay to mix care and business. It's okay to have the Staten Group card. It's okay to market yourself. It's okay to answer the business. You can find that balance of personal and still letting them know there's that business. Don't send them something so far out away from real estate all the time that they forget you're a real estate agent. That woman was, of course, chagrined as she had to keep sending those people a card to their new address. So, all right. So flip over and we get to the next page, Elise. Did I lose her? Okay, there she is. All right, so we get to the next page. My business plan, we have the budget model, okay? So begin with our GCI goal from our economic model. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna look at the page where we did our economic model. And that will be page 19. We used page 19. And we said our net income goal was $100,000, right? So enter values for my budget plan based on your GCI and how you run your business, okay? Compare to an MREA based budget, multiply the percentage in the percentage GCI column with your GCI, enter the result in the money based on the MREA column. This provides a look at what you would be spending if your expenses followed the model. This may not reflect your business. So remember, this is a worksheet where we're gonna base it off these numbers in the model and see if that's accurate, okay? Now, if I'm a new agent and I did my net income goal at $100,000, we talked about it earlier, cost of sales needs to be below 30% probably, but as a newer agent, I'm not even looking at that because I don't have a listing specialist, I am the listing specialist. I don't have a buyer specialist, I am the buyer specialist. I'm an individual agent. If you're a rainmaker on a team, well, then this applies to you, right? And you need to be looking and running these numbers. So my GCI goal for the year was 100,000. That's what you're going to write there at the top line for the year 2021, okay? Now, I'm going to skip through the cost of sales spot. The rainmakers can put stuff in the cost of sales. Ooh, we must have kicked Eden out for a second. Here she comes back in the waiting room here. There you are, Eden. We got you back. Can you hear us now, Eden?
Yes, sorry guys, my computer died on me.
That's okay. Bad news, that 30 seconds was the whole point of the class we just shared. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're totally okay. You just missed me ranting. All right, so we're looking at this. We're going to go down to the operating expenses, right? So based on the MREA, all right, I have compensation, right? So MREA, it says right here, compare it to an MREA budget, right? So an MREA budget would be, if my compensation is $360,000, what's that percentage of GCI? It's 14.4%, okay? So in order for me to work down through the budget model, I have to understand where my compensation is, what I'm spending on lead generation, occupancy, education, supplies, communication, auto, equipment, insurance, all ends up being your total expenses, right? So if we're looking down this first column here, you can see the net income at the bottom is $1 million. That's 40%. The total expenses was 1.5, that's 60%. So that's the 40-30-30 model against 2.5 million of gross commission. If you are a newer agent and you're working off the numbers we did with the 100,000, just take a zero out, right? So I'm looking for 100,000, or take a few zeros out, I guess. So I'm looking at 250,000 instead of 2.5 million. Does that make sense? So the percentages will still be the same. You can enter the values for your budget plan based on your GCI and how you run your business. So my goal was for this to be 100,000. So I put that down at the end. My net income goal is 100,000. I can work back up and do the math and say, well, okay, if the MREA percentage of compensation is 14.4%, then I need to multiply that times 14.4%. My lead generation needs to be 9%. And you can work these down. Now, Andy shared with us that his team looked at it and said he had a 30% and change, right? That's Andy. He's a good finance committee chairperson because that 0.35% drives him nuts. I'm a classic team leader because I'm like, yeah, whatever, man, round down. That's 30%. You're good. That's all right. Andy's right. Watch your pennies. Your dollars will take care of yourself, okay? So go back through and apply this math to what your number goals are and fill these in, right? You can also divide the the names into groups, and you can bulk upload content. Oh, they're still talking about AM cards. Sorry. Side table talk there. All right. The next page, Elise. Scroll down. Scrolling. There you go. Here's your P&L statement, guys. If you've never seen a P&L statement, this is a great one to start with. All right. What's your income off of residential real estate? What's your commercial income? What's your other real estate income? Do you get paid to open doors if you're a new agent? Do you run a property management business? I know here at the lake, there's people that do nightly rentals, or there's people that do now here in Missouri, y'all don't do leasing. Like if I'm a licensed agent, I don't do leases for people that are for rent and get paid for it, right?
What was that again, Martin? Say that one more time.
So where I come from in Texas, you do buyers, sellers, and leases. We get paid to, they put for rent houses on the MLS. If I help them find, they pay me a commission. Do y'all pay commissions on rentals here like that?
Yes.
Okay.
But nobody does it. So with all of our long-term rentals, we will not put them on the MLS. We keep it only in-house.
Okay. All right. So you wouldn't factor that for your businesses here in Missouri because it just is not generally done, especially here at the lake. I got you. All right. So add up in the profit and loss, put whatever your income is. Okay. Commercial income, residential income, other income. That's your total income. That's your gross commission income. All right. So cost of sales. Well, once again, if you don't have a listing specialist or don't have a buyer specialist or something else that would fall under, Andy, give us another example. What do you put under cost of sales? I know you said you put some expenses in there, but give us another example for other cost of sales besides listing and buyer specialists.
You're not supposed to put anything else. We put salary.
Okay, you put your salaries in there. Okay, all right.
I put my own personal salary in there because we treat me as an employee. That's what makes it different. So I put my own personal salary. That's all I meant, is we use something else. So,
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Boy, tell you what, let's see, 7%. Boy, that's a big salary, man. No, I'm just kidding. That's Andy pays himself $2.50 a week, 2 hamburgers and a half a pint of milk. All right. That's an old joke. So then you get down to your operating expenses. So now you individual agents and newer agents, you won't have cost of sales if you're following the model, but you will have operating expenses. Okay. Could be compensation of an admin or things like that. It could be lead gen cost. It could be occupancy. So are you renting an office, education and coaching? Oh, yes, sir.
Sorry, Martin. Cost of sales would be what they're paying as far as if Eden does this, her cost of sales would be her cap.
Great point. I'm glad you threw the cap in there. I totally blew by it. So there you go. Eden individual agents, if you're doing this, cost of sales needs to be your cap. That's a cost of sales to Keller Williams, right? Communications and text, supplies and office expenses, auto. How many of us aren't writing off our mileage? Are you paying attention? That's a business deductible expense. It's important for your taxes. Yes, sir.
I was just saying yes.
Oh, okay. He's factor right. Equipment. Did you have to buy a laptop? Did you have to buy a laptop because now you're a real estate agent? You got to be able to move and hustle and flow, right? Are you carrying extra insurance, liability, other? So you take that. So then you have your total income there, the first one. Then you have cost of sales, whatever that is. Then you have your expenses. So you total up your operating expenses, you total your expenses, and then you end up with your business profit. Okay. So we come down and we end up with our business profit of XYZ, whatever that is, whatever that number is for you. All right. And now we look at things like below the line income. Okay. Interest income. Do you have investments yielding interest or dividends? Do you have vendor supplier income, profit share income? If you're with Keller Williams, that can be a real thing, right? Elise points out, did you buy a gimbal, right? That would go under equipment. That's right. Good job, Elise. All right. Profit share income. If you're here at Keller Williams, that can be significant. Big Mike, you mind me asking, what are you going to make in profit share this year? Is it your first Zoom mic? There you go.
Sorry about that. It's the minor things. Damn. I am not quite going to pay my cap this year, but I intend to next year. Rob and I usually average around 18,000 a year so far in profit share. And I would also, if I could throw in just real quick, Martin, give me 10 seconds.
Please.
Being team leader had nothing to do with that. I've had people say, yeah, but you were team leader for 18. That doesn't matter. I didn't put anybody in my downline hardly when I was team leader, because I always enjoyed more. I got such a thrill out of putting somebody in everybody else's. And I used to get a lot of warm leads from agents. If Sherry Stevens said, hey, I just did it, you need to talk to such and such. And I called such and such and we had an appointment and they onboarded, I made darn sure they went in Sherry Stevens' downline. Mm-hmm. So you can build your downline without being a team leader. That actually, in my case, that hinders you from building your downline as team leader. So the reason I have 24 people in my downline and Robin has 27 is not because I was team leader. It's because that's an area that we have focused on from day one. So roughly 18,000, but next year I intend to pay my cap with it.
Excellent. I love that. So guys, that's a tremendous amount of money, right? If we call it 18 this year, 22 next year, that is not chump change, right? That is, you ask and you want an easy way to grow your downline. Every agent you talk to, have this conversation with them. Hey, what's your broker doing to help you not pay them to sell real estate? Because what we're doing for Mike Staten at Keller Williams is we're making him so much money in passive income, it washes out his cap. Just ask him that. Hey, is your broker working on anything to help you not have to pay him anymore? And when they say, no, what are you talking about? Say, well, my team leader can explain it a lot better than me. Why don't you let him give you a call? That's all you got to do. Shoot me a text, right? Mike's absolutely right. My job is to grow your downline. Guys, one of the things I am most proud of this year, and I'm proud of a lot of things. We've hauled a lot of water through tough times this year. We've grossed 61, not counting this month. So we're gonna end up grossing more. We've grossed 61 so far this year. Our goal was to grow 60. One has gone in my downline. The other 60 went into the downline of an agent with us. So we made 60 contributions to someone else's passive income. You ask your friends that are real estate agents, is your broker paying somebody to help you grow your passive income? The odds are probably no. Okay. Mm-hmm. Great point, Big Mike. Profit share income. Just to let you guys know, I heard from the growth call this morning from International. We shared $62 million in the third quarter with our agents. That is a third quarter increase of 27% from last year's third quarter. So tremendous company giving millions of dollars back to the agents. Okay. So below the line expenses, do you profit share with people on your team? Do you have other pre-tax expenses? profit share income, et cetera, income tax. All of these things can be below the line expenses. When you work down, put all these numbers in, follow it down, your bottom line is the net income. So if I was trying to get a goal of $100,000 net income, well, then I would need to start up here with a goal of 250,000 of total income, gross commission income, and then tick off all these numbers until I end up at the 100,000. All right, the pace Andy's rocking at tells me I need to speed just a little bit. Speed up a little bit. All right, guys. Current organization, if you're a rain team leader or a rainmaker and you're starting to look at people leverage, this page is for you. Obviously, save it. As I mentioned before, we're not going to dive in on this because that's really more of a one-on-one conversation. If you're a rainmaker that would like to have this consulting conversation with me, I would love to do it with you. It's one of my favorite exercises. My favorite is the tech audit, but my second favorite is the people audit. My least favorite is actually the budget conversation because, you know, I like spending it and making it. I don't like budgeting it, but that's okay. We're all going to be better, right? We're all going to have a better year. So questions, ahas, feedback, feelings around today's clinic. We talked about a lot. I know there's lots of examples. When you're finishing up your 411, if you want to email it to me and let me review any of this stuff and coach you up on it, feel free to email me at Andy Gibson at Mr. KW at kw.com. Elise just shared it in the chat. That's mrkw at kw.com. You can put the big M in. It'll still get to me if you want to. All right, so a couple of ahas. I want to thank you guys for your time, and then I want to let you guys out of it right on time. Turns out we do need 3 hours for this lease.
Branson's is Wednesday.
Branson's is Wednesday.
So if I got some agents up here that weren't privileged to be on it today, can they be on it Wednesday then?
Absolutely. Anything I do is open
so
to
that I
any.
can send it to them.
Tell me that again, Elise.
Get me a list of their emails or their names. That way I can send them all the materials and everything in a reminder like an hour before or so.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, listen, my intention is for our market centers and our groups to be a beacon of culture and pouring in. Every agent is open to everything anywhere we do it. We're not going to be like international. I'm not charging $50 a pop. All right, you can come get all this for free, which may not be that great of a value still, but what do you want me to say?
You gonna have
Martin,
people delivered up there?
It was great.
Oh, well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. I got to be honest, guys. I've never taught this before. I had never even seen the packet till this morning. So I'm really, really grateful that you guys let me learn on the fly with you today. I think we covered a lot of great ground. There's a lot of great information in here. I am also way open to feedback. So if you feel like there's something we didn't cover, you would have liked to see us drill down in, this isn't the last one of these we'll ever do. So help yourself, help me, help the agents in the future by helping us make it better. I didn't mean feedback from you, Elise. I get your feedback anyway. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
You get my feedback whether or not you want it. Yes. But I just wanted to mention a lot of this, if you do this on paper, will play into what I'm guessing our content is going to be on Friday, which is how you can put this into command for that little goals section in our Keller Williams internal platform. So do yourselves a favor and finish this when you have a few seconds to breathe or just need a break from staring at the computer screen for a little bit, and come prepared Friday. That way I can make up fake numbers and we can set fake goals on my account.
Absolutely. And Elise is right, guys. You know, the technology, it's designed with artificial intelligence through the Keller Cloud. It will, if you will put your goals in, put your activities in, the AI will actually learn your percentages. It will know if Andy closes 80% of his appointments and Rick closes 84%. It will know if Mike gets to appointment phase with 20 people, he's got a probability based on his activities, not industry standard. It'll learn his activities and tell him that he's got a probability that if he gets 20 people to talk to him and get under contract, that he's got a probability to actually close one of them, right? So it will learn you, and it will help you understand your business. If you are someone that likes to have a very high level look, if you're Mr. or Mrs. Spreadsheet, things like that, get in there and play with these tools. They're getting better all the time, and they will give you a deep dive in on your numbers. So thank you all for being here and participating. All of you, if there's any other parting shots, any thoughts, feedback, etc. If not, I'm so grateful. I can't tell you how hard it is to do these Zooms when nobody participates. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Eden. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Tiffany. Rachel and Dave, thank you for being here as well. It's so nice to have a group to talk to and know that you're actually, communicating with people in this medium. So thank you all so much. Get out there. If you take one thing away, go lead generate your tails off. 2021 is going to be huge, guys. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Go get them, guys.
Bye-bye.